Now, 6 o'clock, we will start the Vacaville City Council meeting. It is August 23rd. Can we have a roll call, please?
Council Agency Authority Member Sullivan?
Here.
Stockton?
Here.
Ritchie? Here. Silva?
Here.
Wiley? Here. Vice Chair Roberts?
Here.
Mayor Chair Roulette.
I am here. If you would please stand with me for a moment of silence. Councilmember Stockton, would you like to lead us in a pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so we have any changes to the agenda tonight?
We do not.
Okay. I will entertain motion. Motion and second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, it's unanimous. We will move to item 4. Approval of the minutes. I'll entertain motion. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous. Item 5, presentations. I see none. Number 6, consent. Anyone on the council that would like to pull anything off the consent calendar? And I do see one, Mr. Silva. Which item would you like to pull off tonight?
Just. Everybody.
Okay, we will not pull anything off from the council. Anybody from the audience that would like to pull an item off consent? Item off consent, thank you. Seeing none, I'll entertain motion for consent calendar. I got a motion second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent calendar is passed. And it was a lot. Okay, so we're going to jump to business from the floor. This is time to address the city council with issues that are not on this agenda, but are within the council matter jurisdiction. And I will get your microphones hot here in a second. And you're on. Go ahead.
Thank you, council members, for all that you do for our city. I'm a resident since 1986. My name is Deborah Snell, and I'm here to address a letter that I received from the city for notification of change to the flood insurance rate map. I have a big question on what number has been turned into FEMA for the rate map, because the most important component to the city's long-term flood control plan, and I apologize for my breathing. I'm going in for surgery day after tomorrow.
You're okay. Take your time.
So the most important component in the city's long-term flood control plan for reducing the risk of flooding within the urban areas along Alamo Creek and around concerning the regional detention basin. However, they have never constructed the basin or an alternative. Significant flood risking has come to my home year after year since 2004-05 flood, and each year I have to leave my home necessary to avoid danger. Engineering reports predict the construction of the Alamo mixed-use project is required to construct the building pads above the 100-year flood level elevation. But what elevation has been presented to FEMA? The one with the basin that has already been approved financially and to construct, but has not been constructed yet. That is my biggest concern. And this requirement also is evidence that there is still flooding risk. Even if the proposed on-site detention basin construction is maintained and the same engineering reports have an oxymoron on it saying that the project does not cause increase to the area. So hear me clearly. I ask that no increased projects happen until the original basin that has already been financially approved, regional detention basin, is built. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
I do have one more concern, if I may. It's totally different.
That's okay.
The street of West crossing over Monte Vista took out the front of my car in 2013 and just 4 days ago spared the life after a collision with my son. And I'm asking if this city can put a light at West and Monte Vista. Thank you so much.
I see Mr. Burke writing that down. Thank you. Any other comments from the floor before I close it?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I'm Dale Fredericks with DG Power, a developer of energy projects. Some of you who served on the council a few years ago may recall that I began working with city staff on a battery storage energy project in this area. And I mention it tonight because you have another battery storage project on your agenda for consideration. These are necessary for the public power grid to run reliably. They're great systems. You will be building them all over the state to support reliable green energy as California transitions away from fossil fuels. So some of you were here on February 25 of 2020 when this council declared a 50-acre parcel called Gibson Creek, a wastewater storage treatment plant site, which had been owned by the city for decades, as surplus property. We went through that process together. I've since been working with staff to try to develop that project site for a battery storage facility. It's a great site for everyone because it's right next to the PG&E Vacaville substation, and we interconnect literally across the fence. Last fall, we had asked the staff to bring to council an option to purchase for my company, to enter into a contract with the city to purchase that site. And that would enable us to go forward then with further development, start the CEQA process and so on. And it's my understanding that in a closed session, some of the council members had gotten information that at another site at Moss Landing, there had been a fire at a battery storage plant. And it turned out, after further investigation on everyone's part, there had been an incident at Moss Landing, but it wasn't a fire. It wasn't a battery storage equipment fire. It was, in fact, a failure of some fire suppression equipment at that location. And it was misreported in the Monterey newspaper and TV that there was a fire. So we did a lot of investigation. I've been working with the owner of that project, the Vista Energy people who have not only owned that, it's back online, they've expanded it. The state PUC has approved their project, the expansion of it. So it's perfectly safe. And I would be planning with staff and your all consent to bring this project back onto the front burner for consideration on the option to purchase the site so that we can move forward with it. It's a larger site than the one you'll be hearing about tonight, although I think both of them will be very good for this city.
Great, thank you. Hi, hello, sir.
My name is William Carlson, and I have a property owner at 107 Luzina. And I was here actually 4 weeks ago, and my concern was the diversion that was made for the, you took the left turn out of West Street, do you remember now? And the plan was to maybe have them go down to the Mason and turn by the cleaners or whatever. Well, what's happening is they do the quick little left on Walnut and go through the alley. And the alley's a service alley. We all live in these alleys. So we can't use our alleys now, that alley anymore. Or the one, I live at 131 Luzina, and my rental property's at 107. And I have an ADU, and you can't even get your car out because what are we going to do with that?
Right.
You know, and it's not a street.
Did the staff talk to you?
You were supposed to call me the day after.
Did the staff talk to you after you left the dais? Did
No,
they
I
grab
haven't
you from
received a call. It was going to be the next day, they said.
Do you want to grab him when he walks back there?
Yeah, I just thought.
Mr. Burke will take care of you.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I didn't want to just repeat the whole story.
No, and I appreciate that.
Okay, so nothing had been done.
Great. Thank you, sir.
Okay, have a nice night.
You too, sir. I'm going to close public comment. And we will move to item 8, public hearings. There is none. We'll move to item 9, Assistant City Manager. Would you like to start it off?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. This next item is a presentation on the Northeast Growth Area and economic development opportunities through land use planning and a request to provide staff direction. We have Aaron Morris, our Community Development Director, and Don Burris, Economic Development Director, to present the item.
Your mic's hot.
Good evening, Mayor Roulette and members of council. My name is Aaron Morris, and I'm the Community Development Director here. And with me co-presenting is Economic Development Services Director Don Burris. We're going to tag team a bit in this presentation. So the purpose of tonight's item and the action for the council's consideration, we'll start with a presentation from staff explaining the Northeast Growth Area and some background on this important part of our city. And then we're requesting that you direct staff to develop an action plan to prepare a specific plan for future consideration by this council and to initiate a zoning code map amendment to clarify the interim zoning regulations. I promise the background will stay brief because I want to focus on the heart of the issue. But in 2008, importantly, the city set an urban growth boundary, which limits how far out the city of Vacaville is going to go through sometime in the 2030s. So when we did our general plan in 2015, it looked at 20 years, and it thought, you know, what's going to happen in the next 20 years? Identified 2 growth areas that were really not expected to move forward with development immediately, and so they were sort of identified for future consideration. Both of these growth areas, both the Northeast and the East of Leisure Town, are within the urban growth boundary. So the thought at the time was in 2015, you know, the Northeast Growth Area will be a kind of a reserve. We're probably not going to need it. But some significant things have happened since 2015, and most notably the 2019 Biotechnology and Advanced Manufacturing Strategy. And as Mr. Burris will explain, and I think as a lot of you are aware from the media coverage, et cetera, this initiative has successfully attracted significant new investment in Vacaville since it was launched. And frankly, it spurred a lot of interest in additional land development opportunities that would not have been able to be anticipated back in 2015. So as you all know, our city has 3 business parks. We have the Vacaville Business Park, which is approximately 400 acres. This is the site where Transwestern is building almost 400,000 square feet of biomedical and other new buildings. That's also where Polaris is. In that business park, we have approximately 40 acres that are unclaimed. In the Vacaville Golden Hills Business Park, it is comprised of 640 acres. We have one big building under construction there right now, but this area is also running out of land. And then our third business park is the Interchange Business Park, 670 acres. And this is where Mettler Toledo Rainin has recently taken on an almost 100,000 square foot manufacturing use in that location with expansion plans. So I think the point I'm just trying to make is we do have 3 business parks. They were mostly planned back in the 70s. They are getting full of a lot of the good things we want to have happen in our city. And that takes us to the Northeast Growth Area. So it's 1,400 acres. Most of it is unincorporated within our urban growth boundary, although 600 acres approximately are in the city limits and are zoned. And our general plan in 2015 identified this as a very important economic growth area. And importantly, it also established this technology park land use designation that's intended to foster the exact kind of development that's currently happening in our existing business parks and that wants to happen more in our area. The general plan set forth a set of policies, and I promise I'm only going to go through a few of them, but the goal was that there would be comprehensive planning through a specific plan process before development would occur in this area to make sure that it achieves these economic development objectives, while also bringing an opportunity for housing and parks and public services and just the kind of things you'd want to have as part of a well-planned community. This is the map of the area we're talking about. I didn't plan to spend a lot of time on showcasing it, but I would just note that the colors on the map that are gray, designated technology park, these are these larger sites, 2 of which are directly adjoin 80, a very important 3-mile corridor that runs through this growth area. Just of note, these colors weren't intended to remain exactly where they are. The thought was during the specific plan process, planned land uses would be figured out through infrastructure studies and other important work. And then ultimately that final general plan diagram of planned uses would be established. So a few general plan policies for your consideration that would guide our work in this area. Policy LUL P18.3 requires that a specific plan for the Northeast growth area be prepared to ensure coordinated plans for land uses, public facilities, and public services. And of note, there's a policy that there has to be a comprehensive infrastructure master plan because we have to figure out infrastructure for the whole area as part of doing any kind of effective land use planning up there. The policy LUL P18.1, that the area shall primarily be developed with jobs generating uses. I'm not going to read all this. Mr. Burris here will talk about some of the jobs generating uses that we think could find a really good home in the area. The other thing of note from that, though, is that there is a discouragement of residential uses getting out ahead of the jobs generating uses. And that's intended to be protective of these future technology park lands and making sure that they're able to accomplish what we want to accomplish with complementary housing to support that. And then I think probably the policy that's really at the heart of the Northeast growth area is that the technology park designation, which was custom created in 2015 for the Northeast growth area, is intended for these properties that are over 100 acres inside to facilitate large technology and business campuses. And our policy specifically says that they shall not be subdivided into smaller parcels for the purposes of developing several unrelated uses. So again, existing land use policy is very protective of the technology park because of some of the things it could do for our city. On the topic of zoning, I mentioned earlier, we have about 600 acres of this growth area in the city, has city zoning. Our current land use and development code, which was just updated this summer after 30 years, has minimal zoning regulations for this area in recognition that in order for the area to be developed, we have to do the specific plan, and that's actually going to provide all of those detailed zoning regulations for the 1,400 acres. And so that's part of why staff's recommending not only that you initiate a specific plan, but also that you initiate a zoning overlay, is to just make it a little clearer to folks that come into the MIND counter, the planning and building counter, that while we have some interim zoning, there's actually important general plan policies that they should be aware of as they embark on whatever they'd like to do up there. So I know that this council knows what a specific plan is because I was here with my staff a while back when I first started working here actually with a specific plan for downtown. But just broadly, specific plans are more fine-grained than general plans, and they allow the city to do things you can't really accomplish with just zoning or high-level general plan. We would be able to craft detailed development standards and implementation measures that would make sure that this area turns into what our general plan envisions. And so I have two slides, one's on opportunities and one's on challenges, but as we look at these together, some of them could be both. A big opportunity that the Northeast growth area has is that it has 3 miles of I-80 frontage. This is prime land for technology parks and for other land uses that really like that visibility and frankly could be a new entryway into our city. There's a lot of land up there, and that's one of the challenges. It's also one of the opportunities. There's plenty of space for lots of different things to happen. Through a specific plan, we would ensure that the things we want to have happen, and that complementary things can happen too. The plan does envision housing, but again, it's a timing factor, hopefully behind the economic development items. A specific plan provides a great opportunity for collaboration with property owners, people from the business community, the community at large, and other stakeholders to make sure that the resulting plan is really embraced by everyone. And then I'm going to go to the challenges. There's a lot of infrastructure study to do. This area does not have sewer. It has very deficient roadway infrastructure. Construction of things up there will require freeway interchange upgrades. Water system upgrades. It's going to be very extensive. So that's just one of the things that has to be tackled as part of doing the specific plan. Another factor, if the council will recall, you just updated the AB 1600 fees. That did not include fees for the Northeast growth area. So the thought is that part of the specific plan, a companion effort, is to establish impact fees. So when people build things up there, they're paying their fair share toward constructing these infrastructure projects. A concern for the specific plan is that piecemeal proposals in the interim could compromise our final outcomes. And then lastly, it would not be fair to be here before you without acknowledging that if we move forward with a specific plan, we have to figure out how we're going to pay for it. That's always a consideration for land use planning activities.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council members. Don Burris, Director of Economic Development Services. For this part of the presentation, I wanted to share with you what some of the emerging industries are that we'll be able to locate in our new Northeast Growth Area Technology Park. As we do have our biotechnology and advanced manufacturing strategy, I will lead off with that information. Two basic categories I want to cover. One would be life sciences, and the next would be industrial. I know we have not talked much about industrial biotechnology, but that is one of the industry segments that is exploding right now and is a new opportunity for us with our strategy as well. So in the life science area, advanced biomanufacturing is one of the categories as well that's been expanding all across the world globally, not just locally. What we have are many, many biotechnology companies that are primarily located here in Northern and Southern California and on the East Coast in Boston and New York. A lot of the companies now are virtual, so they need production facilities. We very well could be in 3 different parts of the country working on science and technology, collaboratively doing that research, but the need for a production facility is what's really driving some of the demand in the industry. Also driving that demand would be another product, which I think you're all familiar with, contract manufacturing organizations. So those organizations that actually produce product for companies, not just biotech companies, but companies in general that do not have their own manufacturing facility. So we have had a lot of interest from contract manufacturing organizations to locate production facilities in Vacaville. Why is that important for us? The contract manufacturing organizations will hire primarily biomanufacturing technicians. That is the main workforce that Solano College is producing for the region. It is 100% placement, and Councilmember Silva, I'm sorry that I'm stepping in your area, but our community college actually has 100% placement for our biomanufacturing technicians. We're not looking at attracting industry where there needs to be PhDs and masters, and we're not doing research and development. We're doing pharmaceutical production. The next area is cell and gene therapy, which again, our community college has created the first certificate program in the United States to produce those graduates who could also work in those types of facilities. The next area would be vaccine development. We've been in contact with our own federal government about becoming a repository for vaccines and for vaccine development through the Biomed program and others. And lastly, med tech industries, which translates into like wearable devices, medical device technology. To give you a good idea, if you have seen the commercials, there is a product called Libra. It is a wearable device for people that suffer from diabetes. It's a little disc that goes on their arm. That would be an easy example of what a medical device could be. Industrial biotechnology. So these are bioindustrial products. What are bioindustrial products? So that would be cosmetics, flavorings, fragrances, and even something as simple as vegetable oils. That industry itself is actually exploding right now. Our federal government has created a federal program called Biomed to encourage the development of bioindustrial products all across the United States. They're looking for 13 centers of excellence to promote the production of these products. And then last, bioenergy products. And I think you all might be aware of some of those bioenergy products, basically biofuels that could be made from products such as algae or harvest residuals from harvesting crops and even organic waste. So these are the emerging industries that are prepared to really explode. The problem is where do they go to? The next category is industrial technology. So this is nothing to do with biotechnology, but to let you know there are other industries that we are well positioned for with expanding and creating this technology park. So robotics companies, biometrics, augmented virtual reality products, and 3D printing production. There are companies right now in the United States looking for 3D printing production locations. I know it sounds crazy, but we can actually 3D print homes. It's beyond our imagination what this technology does now. So our new technology park designation for the Northeast Growth Area sets us up for all of these industries. The beautiful part about all these industries, and I'll say it once again, Our Solano College is probably the best kept secret in all of Northern California. We have programs to provide this talented workforce for all of these industries.
We've reached the conclusion of our presentation, and we're very much available to answer any questions you have. The recommendation is that you direct staff to develop an action plan to prepare a specific plan for the Northeast growth area, and we'd bring that back to the council for further consideration and direction, and that you direct us to initiate a zoning code map amendment to clarify the interim zoning regulations in this area. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much for the presentation. I actually, I'm going to open it up to the public, but before I do, so I do have an issue, and I need you to fix it tonight for me. So we were going to have the battery powered folks come to us a month ago. For whatever reason, it got pushed off. Now it's sitting behind tonight's item. And I've been open with you, been open with Aaron. I'm sitting here tonight and I don't have enough police officers policing our streets. I don't have enough firefighters in our buildings. And we are under a huge demand to get folks come to Vacaville, and I need to find monies to do that. That being said, I've sat up here and I've screamed that, hey, this is fantastic. This is a turning point for Vacaville. Biotech is going to be amazing here in Vacaville. It's going to be what puts us really on the map. So my issue is, and I want you to fix it, is I need to figure out, I want this battery storage place. I want to move this forward too, but you have to tell me tonight how we're going to do both, at least so we can listen to the folks, because there's a lot of money to be made for the city of Vacaville with this battery storage facility. And if we sit on it and I don't see any growth in the next 15 years, then we lost a lot of money. Now, if we put it there and we lose Biotech, we lost a lot of money. But we got to figure out how we're going to make that work. And I don't want to cut one out tonight for another. I want to say, let's try to look at both of them. And if we can make that motion tonight, that's something I would be interested in making. But I want to make sure that we're looking at both and not cutting one out over the other, because I don't want to lose money if we can get money. It would be easy if I had a magic, ball right now and said, oh, okay, I know someone's coming in for Biotech, but we can't promise that. And I know people are saying that. I know that. And I'm excited to hear that. It'd be great if they were already here or if they had already purchased the land. But I have someone saying, hey, we have something that we could put up and possibly take down and give you a lot of money while you're waiting for this whole thing, because this is going to take a long time. I've watched these things grow. It takes a long time. So while we're sitting there, let's make some money, okay? And I want you to figure out how we can make that motion tonight, because that's the motion I'd like to make. I'm going to open up public comment.
Good evening, City Council, Mayor. Appreciate your words real quick, Ron, but still going to give my speech tonight. First, I'd like to say thanks for allowing me to speak tonight. My name is Kyle Swarns, and I'm a field representative with Carpenter's Local 180, representing roughly 2,000 members in this region. I would like to ask the council to please have staff include battery storage when they prepare a Pacific plan. We all know the energy crisis we face with rising costs and electricity bills, power outages because of the lack of energy. Lawmakers are working on legislation to make sure these types of projects are included in the cities, with the most recent bill being AB 205. As a state, we are heading in that direction. I'm asking the council to please direct staff to include battery storage in this specific plan that they're going to be proposing to you in the near future. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. If you know you're going to speak, you can line up. 3 minutes goes quick. Go ahead.
Yep. Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. My name is Stephen On. I'm here on behalf of Corby Energy Storage LLC. I'm representing the project as a project manager, and I just wanted to, our project is next item on the agenda, but I wanted to, for now, request that the battery storage to be included in the interim uses, and also that clarified in the zoning code map amendment proposed by the city planning, I believe that battery storage can complement future development of the northeast growth area, providing the necessary infrastructure for the region. We are more than willing to work with the city in and advance both zoning code map amendment in conjunction with our project. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Next speaker.
We're gonna have all these comments and all these comments. Let's hear the next item and then come back to this. I have a feeling we're gonna have the exact same commentary the second time, and it
I think it's different.
okay.
I believe it's
And
different.
when they're all speaking about the next item, let's
I think they're just saying that you should think about the next item while we, go ahead, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Martin Fitch. I represent the owners of a 40-acre parcel in the Northeast Development Area. It's on Weber Road. It was purchased by my dad and his partner in 1976. It was an airport. I don't know how many of you are familiar with it. For a time, the glider operation operated out of it. And the airport was closed in 1993. And since that time, the property has basically sat vacant. In the middle 80s, my dad and his partner, Duncan Miller, purchased in advance water connection rights. We've now been waiting for 40 years, almost, for the opportunity to hook up, but there's no water there. And I don't think we can wait another 40 years. So I'm hoping that this project moves forward. We would like to sell our property and see a higher use for the property. It has been zoned, and it is in the city limits, and it's been zoned industrial the entire time, yet it has sat there vacant. We currently have an interested buyer, and you're looking for more money. The property taxes on this one parcel would probably increase as much as 20-fold. It would make a significant difference. If the buyer were able to develop it, it would also produce jobs. And we believe that it should, until we get to the point where you've got active technology park happening, if an interim use can be found that would benefit the person with the use, benefit us as a seller, benefit you as a city to increase the value of the property out there. And if it could be developed as an interim use, and what they're proposing is a flat construction storage equipment yard, no buildings, doesn't require sewer. As you have been told, there is no sewer, there is no water. But we do have electricity on this parcel, and they could do what they want to do, and they could
I need you to wrap up.
and they could return the property to you for technology park usage when the demand was there. We've
Perfect.
had
Thank you very much.
no offers.
Thank you.
For
Next
technology park.
speaker.
Thank you.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members, my name is Brian Griggs. I am the buyer that Mr. Fitch just referred to. And I sent you a pretty elaborate memo on Sunday that I think is part of the public record now, kind of outlining the reasons why I feel we should try and move forward and try and hopefully have you direct staff to proceed on the use that we're proposing. It's a use that's zoned currently. It's not in conformance to the general plan. We fully support the vision of the general plan, what staff's talking about long-term. It's kind of unique in that we can do relatively minor improvements to the property. And then when it's time to leave, those tenants will leave. We'd hope to be part of the new business park, part of the new biotechnology park. And I just don't, our concern is that time would run against us if we have to go through a full zoning code amendment And that process is a lengthy amendment, at least lengthy process with various requirements of legislation, different levels, different approvals. So what I'm asking tonight is that you would support staff's overall recommendations, and in addition, direct staff to try and enter an agreement with us that would give staff the legal means, if we didn't move off the property, not to squat. So if that meant it was a stipulated judgment, whether we had talked about a development agreement previously to try and have some meat against the property, we can record deeds against it to limit the uses, financial penalties, et cetera. So if you have any questions, please let me know, and thank you for your service.
Thank you very much. You turned yourself off. Yeah, that's okay.
Much, I'll be brief. I think my name is Gary Tierra. My partner and I own property in the areas that we're speaking of. We farm there currently, and I think staff made an excellent presentation. I would just add and suggest that battery storage would actually be more of a marketing tool and benefit the sales pitch that the city is giving for technology park and everything else, because with the initiatives both on the federal and the state level for clean energy, green energy, but more importantly, when the technology park builders come, one of the questions they're asked, or the homes, residentials, where's my power? If I'm going to put in an elaborate technology business that's going to require constant power, I don't want to be subjected to brownouts and rollouts. And so I think battery storage is probably additive and a good marketing tool for what staff wants to do.
Valid point. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. My name is Dana Dean, and I'm here tonight on behalf of Corby Battery Storage and NextEra Energy. With regard to the specific plan, I want to say when I saw the agenda Friday and I saw the specific plan came before our item, which you're going to hear next, 19B, I was a little distressed because it would be wildly inappropriate to bring forward what would be a 3, 4, possibly, I've seen 10-year process and advance it in front of a project that's in the pipeline. So that concerned me. But when I read further, I saw implicit in the report that staff understood the length of time. And I'm telling you, I'm a land use attorney. I have seen specific plans take 10 years. And given that you're already 7 years out of compliance with the general plan, that'd just be wildly unfair to hold these properties in limbo for that entirety. So it seems like staff understood that and asked you to put forward direction to initiate a zoning code map amendment, which frankly, I think it's a great idea, so long as it includes battery storage among the interim zoning descriptions. And frankly, it's kind of an elegant solution to the issue before us, which I'll detail more in our next item. But I would say we came forward with a text amendment to the zoning ordinance application because after meeting with these two fine folks, we felt like that was what was needed, and we were trying to help move this process forward. It's not a very different vehicle than a zoning code map amendment, and either could work in this circumstance, so long as they move forward at a somewhat rapid pace. I would have, Mr. Griggs would be shocked that I would disagree with him about something, but I think the zoning code map amendment could go certainly much, much faster and within the timelines that we're looking for. And we're very happy to participate in that process. We've already committed to the city manager and others that we would play our role in the specific plan process as well as members of that Northeast Corridor community. So we would be supportive of this whole situation and participate in it so long as the zoning code map amendment included battery storage and staff was directed to move forward efficiently, quickly, so that we could get going.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. My name is Mark Wheeler, and Vice Mayor and council members. My name is Mark Wheeler. I'm a Vacaville resident for 20 years or so. I don't live here now, but I've been in the area for a long time. I'm with Kiewit Infrastructure West Company. We're a heavy civil construction company based in Fairfield. We would be the general contractor on the Corby Batteries project. Kiewit's a union contractor. We have strong ties with local unions, with the laborers, the carpenters, and the excuse me, and the electricians and the operators. And we've been doing work in the Northern California area for since the 60s, when we built the BART tube going underneath the bay. Kind of a cool project. Since then, we've done a lot of heavy civil projects in the area, such as residential and commercial site development projects, water, wastewater infrastructure, and bridges and roadways. A large percentage of our workforce, our craft workforce, lives in the Fairfield-Vacaville corridor here, and due to its central location for the whole region. Historically, our workers go where the work is. And that's a hardship on a lot of our workers. And when you get a project like this in our backyard that we can go do, and we can help our workers work close to home and improve their quality of life, it's a big deal for us. And so this project brings significant construction workers to work close to home. And it's a fast-paced, multi-trade project that we wholly support, and I just wanted to encourage you to consider.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see you. All right, I'm going to close public comment. I'm going to bring it back.
Hello, Mayor and all. I'm Brent Wolf. I own a house directly across the street from this proposal. I just have some concerns with safety, explosion, fire. I've been out there since 1983, when everything used to flood out there. Things are better there, but so explosion, fire, chemical contamination potential, cooling, BTUs. What all is this battery going to do? The values of my property. You put a big battery complex right across the street.
Okay.
Something to think about.
Understood. Thank you. I'm going to close public comment and bring it back to the city council. I have Councilmember Silva. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. And thanks for the folks speaking up. And thank you, sir, for stepping up, to, express your concerns as well. So the item that's on here is whether or not we would approve pursuing, giving direction to staff to develop an action plan to prepare a specific plan, and then basically clarify a zoning code. So through that process, is there a process for businesses, process for civilians? Is there a process for absolutely everybody, all the stakeholders, to actually contribute towards that?
Absolutely. Both processes would be happening at the same time. We have to figure that out in the action plan that would come to council. But yes, both processes would involve ample opportunities for public input and participation.
Okay. So, all right. Well, it sounds like there's that opportunity for everybody to pitch in as far as how we structure the zoning goes. One of the things that, and I just want to kind of clarify, I forget who mentioned it, but it said benefit to the people. And I think, one thing about this effort that we're trying to expand into is there's multiple benefits to multiple people, and not just for a one-time job, but ongoing jobs, continuous employment. A lot of folks, they talk about equity and whatnot, to the point, like, it's kind of overused, in my opinion. Not kind of, it is. But these fields allow people to be the first time in their family line to ever buy a home. The first time in generations to buy a home. And that ongoing opportunity to build that generational wealth is really key. We see, I know there's different things going on, I hear little different rumors I see people tour our labs at the college. But things are moving. Maybe they're not moving fast enough for a lot of folks. But these are opportunities that people are using real money and investing into something that may be coming right away or may be taking a while to come through. But the fact is things are moving, and for years they may not have. And this whole council put their vote down to support this initiative to how do we get these jobs that bring in, for every one job that these particular fields hire, it brings in 8 additional jobs. And so for me, I'm happy to support what everything is directed. I respect the mayor's, goal, but as far as trying to figure out a plan, I think maybe there's another way to talk about the next item. But as far as, as I see it, I think we support the 2 recommendations as written.
Councilmember Sullivan.
I don't have too much to add to Councilmember Silva's comments. The temporary nature of some of the proposals don't necessarily bug me. I don't know if we can work that in or not. A construction yard in my mind makes sense maybe temporarily, and I know we've talked a little bit about even the battery project being temporary, but there's some problems there. So I don't know if there is any ability to have a temporary project or process. I think if the land's going to sit there for 10 or 15 years, that's sort of okay with me. Otherwise it's just sitting there. So I guess that's the one thing I would kind of add. I pretty much support what Councilmember Silva is saying. I think we need job centers. We have the average Vacaville resident has a 28-mile commute each way out of town every morning on average. We got to have jobs here, and so I also think, and I'm not going to try to jump too far in the next item, but I think there's probably a way to get everything that we want today from all parties. And I think we can actually find a compromise for everybody. But the temporary nature of some of the proposals doesn't bug me.
Councilmember Wiley.
Thanks for the information and all the people who are commenting. I also agree that it looks like something to pursue so that we can have jobs. And it just seems like it takes a long time, sometime, for things to happen. But you've said things have been going at a quicker speed lately. But I do feel like if we are voting on it, we need to include the language to say, including battery storage, just so it doesn't get lost before we talk about the next item.
Councilmember Ritchie.
Thank you, Mr. President. All right. Almost better now. Okay. Thank you for the presentation. So I'm still losing my voice, so sorry. President's amazing. I think Silva really hit on the topics of really what I was thinking about, kind of being, we all took a kind of a unanimous vote here to make sure we look for the future, not just for the now. And I really think that advancing the initiative that's written is important, but I really liked, Brian's presentation of the interim use. And so I had the conversation with staff today in regards to the usage of the property, right? There's certain things that are affixed to the property, like building a hotel, something that's affixed, it's not gonna be movable. If we do need that site in say 10 years of forward progress of every day, we try to make that site better for the technology park. Any usage that we can have, like a development agreement where, hey, they go into an agreement, it's a business arrangement. You can use the site for social purposes, but at some point in time, that zoning will expire as long as both parties are amicable. I think it's awesome. So I think we should really look at all opportunities for anyone that wants to use the zoning under the scope of the general plan that we're hopefully going to approve to really go forward and produce income, produce jobs in the interim, as long as they have an understanding that they can go to a development agreement and there will be a kind of sunsetting of their business on the site. So therefore, the major goal of having a technology park could be produced. The conversation I had that Silva has talked about, I had earlier, the amount of square feet that you can build, I guess it's better now, like an Amazon warehouse. They can do a whole warehouse now for 100,000 square feet. It might take 6 workers. So I want to make sure that the end usage of that park doesn't have a 200,000 square foot building. That technology could only have 5 workers. I want to make sure the technology park can serve thousands of people. That therefore, it brings like a tree. You have 1,000 workers of every level, then therefore you have all these auxiliary companies that come to serve those people, like restaurants, hotels, gas stations, cafes. That technology park is not just going to be just techie people. It's going to bring life to the community, and then housing across all spectrums. So I think it's important to really do this and make sure we have the interim usage I understand that everything takes time, but let's make money during the interim. So whatever we can do that makes money during the process, we should go for. But we need to make sure that the master goal is written down in the general plan. At some point, you need to adjust or get out of the way. But I think the major use is, I want to make sure there's jobs that Syl was talking about, where therefore, like on that site, per acre, you might be able to produce 3,000 jobs, as opposed to 3, if it's a warehouse with technology. So I think the overall goal needs to be met. Sorry, my voice is not.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Wiley.
It was a little difficult to hear, but I don't want to just say, oh, interim use, everything interim use, because then you've got everything booked up, and then the people or the companies that look at it say, well, where's the property? So I want to really be careful about what interim use is used and the requirements to set that up.
Thank you, and I agree with you. And so I want you or city attorney to help me through this motion. So I'm going to motion that we start the process. Are you going to want to jump in on me?
I did. I wanted to share some information with you. That's
please.
Okay. So as part of our due diligence to make sure that we could provide you with the best information, the best recommendation, we did take the opportunity to reach out to several of the developers that have reached out to us to talk about developing this new technology park for us. I won't read all of the information that they provided to us. We did kind of a small focus group with Cushman Wakefield, Newmark, and CBRE. So to address some of the comments, when it comes to the technology park, I will give you this one part of the quote. Your assessment is correct that a cutting-edge technology park is needed. Demand will continue for years to come. Collectively, we can tell you that we desperately need a new technology park as of yesterday. The Bay Area is out of land. Vacaville not only has the best location and the most amount of available land, you have the labor here and the pipeline to continue to develop more talent. We wholeheartedly support your efforts in the Northeast growth area and are willing to partner in your efforts to identify and recruit the best companies to Vacaville.
Fantastic.
So one of the things they shared with us as well is when it comes to the battery project, which I would share in our next presentation, but since we're actually discussing that at this moment, is that they do not believe that that battery project at that site is anywhere near an attraction to bring in the type of companies that would be interested in being in a cutting edge technology park. So to be very clear from us, from a staff perspective, we are absolutely in support of a battery project. We're just not in support of the use of that particular piece of property.
Okay, I appreciate that. I'm still going to ask, or I'm going to make the motion, and you guys can make sure that I'm saying it correctly. I'd like to move this forward. I'd like to start looking at a specific plan out there. I want to give the battery storage place an opportunity to come back and pitch us and say, hey, we want to do a development agreement. This is what's going to look like. And give this opportunity for this board up here to say yes or no to those folks. And if it doesn't work out, well, then it doesn't work out, but I still want that strategic plan moving forward. But I also want you to come back and talk about money. You know, how much is this strategic plan going to cost us? So I want to make the motion. I want to direct you guys to do what we need to do to start the process, but I need you to bring it back and I need you to leave that window open for Corby. And so we can either decide if we want them or not, and at least give them the opportunity to give us the pitch. And that's it. They've been trying to work with us, I don't know, a long time, over a year. And all I just want to hear is the pitch. I might not like it, but I might like it. And if we can make it all work, well, then we're fantastic, right? If we don't do it and it's dead dirt sitting out there 15 years from now, I'm going to call you, Don, and I'll be like, Don, what'd you do? So that's my motion. Are you good with my motion?
So if I can just clarify,
Please.
You're moving the staff's recommendation forward with consideration, with direction to consider or include a battery storage option in the zoning map amendment?
Sure.
Does that
And I want them to
work
come
for
back
staff?
with the amount of money this going to cost.
I would propose we further clarify in the specific plan and zoning map amendment components, because we should be looking at it across the 1,400 acres and within the 600 that we currently have in our city limits.
Okay, perfect. We're good? Do I have a second?
I need to clarify some of your points you made.
Sure.
So you just stated that a battery storage place would compromise our ability to recruit businesses to the area. Is that correct?
You turned it off.
Yes, that is correct.
So why would we want to put something that's going to compromise our ability to implement one of our key priorities? I don't understand that. So, number two, if I'm also correct to hear that we're not, there is benefit and merit to the battery storage project. Are there other places that this could possibly go, or that the city can engage and collaborate to see where they can go rather than this particular site that doesn't compromise one of our key priorities?
I believe so. Several weeks ago, the city manager asked staff to put our heads together and try to find alternative locations so that this site would not be a site that interrupts what our city's goals and objectives are, so.
All right, thank you.
So I want to help Councilmember Silva. So if we go with my motion and get it passed tonight, and a battery storage place wants to go in, they can't just go in. They have to come see us all, and we can shut it down. Or we can move it forward at that point. But tonight, I'm not authorizing the battery place. I'm just saying, give them the opportunity to come back to this board and say, hey, here's the opportunity. This is what we'll give you. We'll give you millions and millions of dollars for 2 years, and then you can pull it. They could do anything they want. But if we don't let them have that opportunity, then we just shut that door. And again, that door can just remain vacant. We don't know. I've grown up here. I've watched 505 remain vacant forever. And now it's flourishing great, but we don't know what's going to happen. We're watching inflation go crazy. And if I can make some money, again, while I'm waiting for the strategic plan to develop and for these folks to start to come in, let's make some money. Let's put public safety back to work. So that's why I'm making that motion. Can I get a second?
Can I help the council and the mayor? So based on those comments, we talked about wasting time because they've been going on it. So if we don't want to waste anybody's time, why would we approve that now? The other point is that it sounds to me, that's why I asked my question earlier, if anybody can be involved in that particular process when we talk about the strategic plan, and they can. So to say that, hey, we're going to be able to put this in now, to me seems like it's a waste of time versus looking at other areas.
Okay.
So that's my.
Do I have a second? Gonna die for a second? Okay. I'll have, all in favor? Aye? Is there, on a question, you want me to restate the motion?
We're gonna go forward to add.
All we're gonna do is move forward for the strategic plan to get started. We're gonna leave an opportunity for the battery storage place to let them come pitch us one day. It might not go through, it could go through. Either way, we can take a look at it, but it gives them an opportunity instead of shutting the door and saying, we don't want you tonight. So the motion's been made and seconded. You want to do a roll call vote? It seems split. Okay.
Councilmember Stockton?
I'm here, there, bitch, yes.
Councilmember Ritchie?
Yes.
Councilmember Silva?
No.
Councilmember Wiley?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Roberts?
Yes.
Councilmember Sullivan?
I guess I don't really understand what's happening with this item and the next. And, I mean, we're getting the pitch right after this, so I'm confused, but I guess yes. I mean, I don't know. The order here is weird.
Okay. And I'm yes. I think I'm last. So that item passes. Thank you very much. And we'll go to item 9B.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. This next item is a resolution denying a request to initiate an amendment to the Vacaville Municipal Code to create a technology park zoning district for the development of a battery energy storage facility. And we have Aaron Morris, Community Development Director, and Don Burris, Economic Development Services Director, to present this item.
Thank you, Mayor Roulette and members of council. The action before you is a merit hearing to consider whether to support an application to create a zoning ordinance that amends the technology park designation to allow battery storage on a vacant parcel of land, 160 acres in size, located at the southeast corner of North Meridian and Midway Road. This is a vicinity map. I think we do know the area we're talking about, but the yellow star shows where we are relative to the rest of Vacaville. I'm gonna skip that slide because I already covered that one. This shows the area zoomed in with the 80 bifurcating it, and the project site is shown in blue on the left along Meridian Road. And this shows the general plan land use diagram with the site highlighted. The site is an approximately 160 acre site, of which 102 acres is designated for technology park. So the request before you is to create a technology park zoning district to allow battery storage as a permitted use and to create development standards and regulations for battery storage. The proposed project that would come out of this is a battery storage facility with ancillary equipment located on land designated for technology park. It would take up 24 acres of the 160 acre site, so 24 acres of the 102 acre part that is currently designated for technology park. It would result in construction jobs, and then ultimately 1 to 2 maintenance employees would work there once the construction's completed. This is an aerial view of the site thanks to our media crew. It is currently farmland. This shows you the site where the battery storage would go. And this is the aerial view now of the battery storage facility at that corner. And this is not this facility, but this is an example of what a battery storage facility looks like when implemented. Again, it'll be different because the technology keeps changing, but this was I'm just trying to give you a pictorial. So the proposal from the applicant, again, this is the merit hearing. This is not a decision tonight whether to approve or not approve. The proposal is whether or not the council wants to entertain it and allow them to move forward through a process. So they're proposing that the battery storage facilities would be allowed by right, and also minor telecommunication facilities, and then agricultural activities would be interim uses. They're proposing as conditional uses to go through a discretionary review process. Any battery storage facility that does not comply with the standards they're proposing, major telecommunications facilities, and any uses that are allowed in the specific plan. The reason why staff does not support the battery storage facility at this technology park site is because the proposed zoning amendment is inconsistent with numerous general plan policies, particularly about the technology park sites that are 100 acres in size or greater, and not allowing pieces of them to be chunked off for things that are not consistent with the technology park. And I will not belabor this point, but essentially the key issue that the planning department feels is that this battery storage would be happening on a premium location, and it could happen elsewhere within the Northeast growth area. There's 1,400 acres that are not this particular site. And now I turn the presentation over to Don Burris.
So once again, as far as the uses in the technology park, this definitely supports our Biotech and Advanced Manufacturing Initiative. We would not like to remove land from the technology park, which is what this request would do. It doesn't help with our future planning for how to utilize the technology park. It doesn't advance our goals to actually bring in high-value jobs that create a huge economic impact. I've done economic impact analysis on some of the projects that we're currently in conversation with. As a matter of fact, tomorrow we'll be doing another site visit with one of the biotech companies interested in coming into the Vacaville Business Park. So I've had an opportunity to run the economic impact analysis for those, which I would love to be able to do as well for the battery project. So for the smallest project that we're looking at, that is approximately 20 acres, the annual economic impact for us would be $118 million. That's an annual impact, not a one-time impact. One of the things that we need to really consider when we're looking at development projects and facilities is that on a regular basis, facilities will need to upgrade their equipment. Each time they upgrade their equipment, the value of that property will increase because the property will be reassessed. That's not the situation with the battery project. There's not going to be ongoing equipment upgrades that will continue to increase the value of that property, nor would it increase the tax revenue generated. One of the bigger issues that we're losing by not moving forward or by moving forward with this is that we don't have the multiplier effect One of the greatest things we gain from being able to bring in a job creation is that multiplier effect. The amount of money that's spent within our community because of these companies, because of the number of employees that are hired. That 118 million I gave you is only 100 employees. That's only 100 employees. We're looking at possibly more than 3,000 employees being on the Vacaville Business Park campus. So just wanted to put that in perspective. Happy to run the numbers as well for the Corby Battery Project so that you can see what the actual economic impact will be. I'm not sure how we come to any numbers on that project without any real data and real analysis. Our biggest company coming into the industrial park has the impact of $890 million annually for our economy. So I think it's important that we're able to look at the whole picture to understand what we really have to gain by protecting our employment lands.
In brief conclusion, a battery storage facility on this particular site is not the highest or best land use. The proposed zoning language is not adequate. It could be refined, through a collaborative process should the council wish to entertain this and approve the merit hearing. But as proposed, this project is not bringing forward a specific plan. It doesn't comply with the general plan, and it would not further the city's economic development goals, again, on this site. And that takes us to staff's recommendation to deny the request to initiate the zoning ordinance amendment. And we're happy, of course, to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. And I appreciate your passion. I do, and I understand it. And if I had companies that were buying or bought out there and I was like, no, I'd rather have a battery storage place, I'd be an idiot. But again, to sit here and watch that vacant spot, if they would have came here 10 years ago and said, hey, we want to be here for 10 years, we're going to give you a few $1 million a year, we would have been fools 10 years ago not to take it. When I got on this council in 2008, I don't know if anybody was here. Joe was here. CPV, I believe it was called, came to us and said, hey, we want to put this nuclear, oh, you might be able to help me out, Tim. We want to put this nuclear energy thing out in Easterly. And we're like, okay, everybody hated it. No neighbors wanted it. We said, sure, you pay us $1 million every year until you build it, and then we'll get the rewards. We sat on that. I don't know how many years did we sit on that? 8 years? Anybody know in the city? We just collected millions of dollars year after year after year, and then they went away. I feel like this battery storage place, honestly, could be multi-million dollars while we're sitting on vacant land. And I don't want to disrupt the biotech. I don't. And if it comes up and something happens and someone wants to go buy the property, or we know for sure, then I totally understand this whole body sitting up here saying no to the battery storage. But again, I don't have that glass ball to say, oh yeah, no, someone's coming or someone's not coming. And I understand. I sat up here many times and praised you for everything you're doing. And I'm not trying to derail it, but it would not be in the best interest of me sitting up here trying to bring money to the city of Vacaville and watch that land sit vacant for the next so many years. If we could do some deal while we're waiting, that's what I'm looking at. With that, I'm going to open up public comment. Oh, sure, come on up. You be first.
Thanks so much. We do have copies of
I'm starting, so.
of the PowerPoint, especially for this gentleman with the hat. We can make sure they get it. And I'm not sure, who do we give direction to about advancing the slide?
Next slide.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. I believe we have 10 minutes. We'll do our best. My name's Dana Dean. As I mentioned, I'm here tonight on behalf of Corby Battery Storage and NextEra Energy. Briefly, we want to give you an overview of why we need battery storage. And I like to use the example of the PG&E commercial where they show that horrible pile of laundry and say, please don't do laundry between 4 and 9. right? We want to power down between 4 and 9, and that's because that's when the sun goes down and the wind slows, and we don't have the amount of energy available. Well, guess what? Battery storage helps with that. And what we do with batteries is we fill them up during the day, and when the other sources are eliminated, battery storage is used to avoid brownouts and the horrible not being able to do your laundry and other things during the most used energy times, and that's when folks are coming home from work. So battery storage is incredibly important in our state, so much so that the governor, you heard about the new legislation that went through, they are making it a priority to get battery storage. And you folks have really a beautiful location for that because the PG&E substation is here. And that is one of the most significant parts of the electrical infrastructure for our state. So the main point is to increase reliability. And let's see, what else do I want to tell you? Our particular project allows for, in rough numbers, $24 million annually, not annually, over the life of the loan for property taxes for this, life of the lease for property taxes for the city and Vacaville Unified School District. And as I sort of mentioned earlier, you avoid holding these property owners hostage for another 3 to 10 years. And they who came up with this lease 14, 18 months ago would be able to move forward with a steady, very reliable stream of income. So those are some basic benefits. I think I'm going to turn it over to my colleague here to discuss some more detail about, no, actually, I'll mention the projects. I'm sorry. Somehow mine are different. Can we advance to the next? Okay, here's where we are. Staff's pictures are a little different than the ones you're going to see from us. But we're proposing to take about 24 acres, 16 of which would involve the batteries themselves, and about 8, which would be for landscaping and shading of the area. So you can see where it is. It's precisely where indicated. And the next slide shows you a little bit more about where we are. You can see it's a part of a 40-acre parcel, but it's much smaller. It is not adjacent to the freeway. It is not adjacent to Midway Road. There are a few residences, and we've worked very hard to reach out to them. We've had a community meeting, which I believe you all know about. And we're very happy to engage with them as well as city staff. I do want to touch base on this notion of the specific plan and the zoning map text amendment, which is what I believe we heard we were going to be able to participate in, that we had produced a text amendment to the zoning ordinance because it seemed like that was the best vehicle for moving this forward and helping staff to work through this. And yes, there were pieces to it that could be worked through, as the community development director mentioned. We can do that with the other vehicle. I feel very comfortable with either one, so long as it moves at an efficient clip. And to be clear, not the specific plan is going to take many years. The zoning map amendment could be done very efficiently, and we'd be very happy to work with staff to use that as our vehicle. I'm going to turn it over to Stephen.
Dana. So like Dana mentioned, this slide basically shows you why we picked this location. It is basically away from a high density residential area, and also it's directly adjacent to PG&E's Vacaville substation. So next slide, please. That's important because in order for battery storage projects to be effective, it needs to be located close to substations. Based on our research, the PG&E's Vacaville substation is the only high voltage transmission substation within 50-mile radius. So that's why we purposely picked this location. And this will help improve the grid reliability for the region. And before I move on to the next slide, I'd like to make a quick correcting comment. So we do have planned to augment our batteries over time. So our property value will not go down. And that $24 million Dana mentioned is for the life of the project. So I just want to make that comment. Next slide, please. So I'd like to also highlight our state-of-the-art fire safety program. So as a company, we take fire safety very seriously. So we make sure our battery storage projects are engineered to meet the highest standards of safety and also fire protection to minimize risk. We do this by owning and operating our own assets over time, which allowed us to collect data, which we continuously use to improve our design. We also have system to monitor batteries from the on-site and then also 24-hour control center in our headquarters, so we can shut it off from our headquarters as well. And we also make sure that we go on rigorous industry testing for fire safety procedures. And we also try to equip all our battery containers with cooling systems, so all our batteries are operating at ideal temperature range. And we are also looking forward to working with the first responders and fire officials if our project do move forward to, design the facility that meet or exceed fire standards and be able to design appropriate emergency plan for the first responders. With that, I will hand over to Deandra Cass.
Hello, thank you for your time. My name is Deandra Cass. I'm with NextEra Energy. I'm the environmental lead for this project. Go to the next slide. I think you already know that this is currently zoned ag and has a general plan land use designation of technology park. But battery storage is a new technology. None of the existing planning documents have ever specifically called out battery storage. That's not just in Vacaville, that's all over California and the nation, because this is just a new technology. But battery storage is a utility-like infrastructure. And so we believe it can be really compatible under the existing zoning and under the existing land use designation. However, based off of conversations with the city so far, we put forth the application for a zoning text amendment about 9 months ago. We submitted the application. But we're definitely open to other alternative permitting pathways, such as the agenda item right before this, to come up with interim regulations via the zoning code map amendment. And we definitely believe that battery storage can help enhance this and not hinder development of the northeast growth area. Next slide. As part of our coordination with the city and other nearby landowners, one of the things that we've heard is a concern is the impacts to visual resources and changing the character. So regardless of the future plans of a technology park, one of the things that we were considering is how we can keep the visual character during this interim use. So we created these visual sims to demonstrate what the project would look like after it's been developed. The top row shows the existing views. We have I-80 is the first one off of I-80, and the following two photos are off of Meridian Road, north and south of the project. The second row is the simulated views of what it would look like. In the very first photo, you can see you can see the project as a sliver of light color. We specifically are hoping by placing this away from I-80, it's not going to, impact the views coming into the city. And that's really the only place you would be able to see this. We can definitely incorporate visual mitigation measures or mitigation measures for any other resource so that battery storage can seamlessly fit into the current and future land uses.
Yeah, you have 40 seconds.
All right, so I'll wrap with just a couple of other economic points. We are estimating a $330 million investment in order to bring this to fruition, and that's here. It is correct that we're looking at about 200 construction jobs, and from my perspective, those most certainly have ripple effect in the community and should not be disregarded. But mostly I would say I was so happy to see the zone code map amendment come as a vehicle that we can use. We do not want to present something in whole cloth just for the sake of doing it. We want to work with staff to form something that's going to work. So I see my time is up. We're happy to answer questions as they come up.
We'll call you up as questions come up. So public comments open if anyone wants to comment. Come on up.
Good evening, council, staff, and mayor. Again, my name is Kyle Swarns. I'm here tonight on behalf of my brothers and sister carpenters, representing roughly 2,000 carpenter members in this region, with a handful of them in the audience that's right behind me tonight, and many more who are at home, who are preparing for work tomorrow, or they have to travel 1 to 2 to even 3 hours just to get to work. I'm speaking in favor of NextEra Energy and their Kobe Energy project. While staff believes the only benefit would be the construction jobs and maybe some tax revenue, I believe it's important to realize there are over 1,500 apprentices in all the crafts that are part of the joint labor management here in Solano County. Construction workers represent a large base of the workforce in this region. While a majority of the projects in the city are built with a workforce that has low wages, little to no benefits, NextEra has made a commitment to make sure workers on their projects will have livable wages, healthcare, not just for the worker, but for their families. They have also made a commitment to grow our industry by making sure workers on this project will be part of a joint labor management apprenticeship program. So let's not forget how important these types of projects are to us. Also how important it is to our kids and to their kids. We need to start taking steps in correcting what we have done for decades to our environment. As a city, let's move forward, taking the proper steps and improve NextEra Energy and the Kobe Energy project to move forward. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker. Oh, you're fine. You're fine. Thank you.
As I mentioned previously, I'm Gary Tierra. My partner and I own the property that's being spoken of. I would just like to say, it was mentioned there are 600 acres that are in the incorporated city that are in this technology park planning, and my partner and I own 360 acres of that 600 acres. We ended up with this property around 2010 after the housing crash of 2007, 8, whenever it was. We ended up with this property because there was a hedge fund out of Chicago that had financed this project because it was all going to be houses in California. It was going to all be houses. We have been farming it since then, and I can tell you of the 360 acres we own, specific to this 40 acres, in the 12 years that we've owned this property and farmed this property, we have never had a single phone call from anybody who has expressed any interest in this property until Corby and NextEra. So I would love nothing more than all of it to go to Technology Park, because I'm tired of farming prunes in the Bay Area. But it's, when it happens, that's great. But until then, everything that you've heard from everybody, this project adds value all across, with the landowner and everybody else. And again, I'll say, I think it's a great marketing tool for people who want Technology Park, because now you've got constant supply of power.
Thank you very much. Next speaker.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. My name is Rebecca Salinas, and I live at 7273 North Meridian Road. These pictures are a little deceiving because they don't show how close the facility is to our home. And we have concerns about fire hazards, and then also during construction, the use of the road. Because it's not the best road, it's not the worst road, but there's obviously going to be impacts to the road. As far as the fire hazard, when the line's going across the road, we're concerned about obviously our animals having to evacuate. If you look at other battery storage facilities, there have been multiple fires. Dangerous to firefighters because of the materials that are being used. And then also the cost for the city to combat those fires for the materials that they'll need. There's been evacuations to residents because of these fires, as well as toxic fumes. And we have a lot of concerns, also increase in fire insurance and costs that would snowball because of this. It's just extremely concerning being a resident there. Also, driving down that road, one of the reasons we bought that property is because it was the best combination of living in the country, is also 10 minutes away from city. So then we don't oppose the technology park at all. We just hope that the council would take into consideration preserving part of the agricultural aspect of that environment. And looking at the pictures of these storage battery facilities, it's really ugly. It's not pretty to drive by multiple times a day. And then also I wanted to bring to your attention the initial notification that we received was only mailed to 35 people in that area. And so it was the first 4 houses on each immediate area. So all of the residents on Winding Way were not notified. So I would really like the council to consider the fact that there's a lot of residents out there that were not notified.
We'll absolutely,
Yeah.
we'll absolutely keep that in mind if this moves forward.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. My name is Chris Palomo, and I've lived here in Vacaville for roughly 18 years. I have family that has resided here for over 30 years. I'm a carpenter by trade, so is my dad. I've been a carpenter for about 10 years now, and my dad for 25. And in all those years, I've never had the opportunity to even work in the city of Vacaville or even close. All this career, I've had to drive to the Bay Area, sitting in 3 to 4 hours of traffic, sometimes 5 on a Friday coming from San Francisco. I don't know if any of you have sat in traffic coming from the city. It sucks, man. And doing that, repeatedly, it's not fun. That's taking away time from, me spending time with my family, loved ones and all that. When this type of project here, that gives me more time to spend with them. It's creating a less carbon footprint, less greenhouse gases from travel, saving gas money too. Gas prices are ridiculous right now. So it's more money in our pockets, more money I'm gonna be able to spend here and, reinvest back into the community. So I urge you guys, to think about it, help pass this project, because I think it's gonna bring great revenue back to the city of Vacaville. And I'm sure, my fellow brothers and sisters that are back there, they can agree with me. It's going to provide a lot of work. I didn't even know the general contract was going to be Kiewit, but I worked for Kiewit for 3 years, and I was traveling to Richmond. And my quality of life is better because of it. I was an apprentice when I started there. And so, yeah, thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Good evening, Sean Bird, Vacaville resident. I don't have a position on this. However, any energy project the city of Vacaville take under consideration, I hope that you will exceed present requirements to harden it. In 2006, a lone rifleman nearly took out the San Jose high voltage transmission station. And it took about 3 years to acknowledge that it was a terrorist event. So there's a national discussion right now that federal government requirements are inadequate. You know that we have a fellow in a car that sits outside of PG&E, that's not going to take care of it. Additionally, I know I don't get kind of wacko on you here, but the solar energy and solar storms or an EMP, none of these facilities are hardened, and they react. If you lose one facility, it's a domino. California had the rifleman succeeded. He only damaged the San Jose substation. How do you get succeeded in damaging one of the major transformers? The entire state of California would have gone black. So please direct staff to exceed those requirements. That's my only comment.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to close public comment. I'm going to give, did you want just one more minute to rebut some of the things?
Well, I'm to speak.
Sure.
First I'll say we are fully committed to working with staff in terms of the conditions of approval of any project that comes forward, to include much of the items that were discussed by the commenters, including security hardening. I think that's what I heard the gentleman say. We certainly understand that, and we'd be looking for that in any case, because of course we want our project to succeed and be safe. In terms of preserving ag and that battery storage is ugly, I almost am hurt by that, but I'm not going to disagree. But we are planning very carefully to have the landscaping. If you could put our pictures back up, you'd see the landscaping is going to really mask all of that. So from from North Meridian, which is the only site that road you could really see this from, it's going to be very minimal. And if that's not sufficient, we will make it sufficient as a condition of approval. That's all well and good. We're happy to make sure that the project is the best one it can be for this community.
Just for the record, these are horrible pictures. I would have loved to see something
What do you
better
mean?
than that.
Well, they're bigger. Over here, we have them
Oh,
bigger.
okay, well then I'll
I
watch
think the
back
point, the true point is that it's really not that noticeable, right?
Right.
And we can, and so if you want to improve the site and improve the landscaping, we certainly would like to work with staff to come up with conditions that would do that.
Great.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm going to bring it back to the council. I'm going to ask a real quick question, though. So today, if we happen to move forward, if this body wants to move forward, all we're saying is we're going to move forward and let them start the process for them to come back and give us a pitch. And it's going to include a development agreement. It's going to include all kinds of stuff. And then we will decide whether we want to move forward with them or not. It's just giving them the opportunity to come back, correct? Am I?
For
correct?
this specific site, yes,
Okay.
if the council wishes to give the applicant the
If we
opportunity.
voted no, gone, and we're already started the specific plan, and we're all good. Okay. Councilmember Silva.
Thank you. And thanks everyone for presenting and speaking. So real quick, one of the things that kind of came up was $2 million in property tax. Is that how much is that something that the city's been able to verify? Or sorry, is that correct?
So I cannot verify the property tax. Working with Dana, we were trying to get some data points so we could actually run an economic impact analysis, but we weren't able to make that happen today. So
You would bring that back when you came to.
Right. So I would think it's important for us to be able to do that economic impact analysis. If I understand that you all may have been told $2 million in property tax, but now in this presentation, it says $24 million. So I can't
happy to
verify
speak to
any
that.
of that information. So
Sure, go ahead.
I came to the mic because I didn't think everyone would be able to hear me. First is 2 million annually is a number that we've been looking at. Yes, that's correct. And then I would normally have expected to have this conversation as the land use application process goes forward. So we've had a very truncated opportunity, like 5 days, to work on this. So as it goes forward, we certainly bring all that information forward in a meaningful way. The 330 million is our current estimation of our costs for this project. So you can run numbers on that. We do fully expect, inflation, we know it, right? And as the project moves forward, we could expect that number to grow. I belong to this community. I represent this community. I am not going to tell you something that's not true.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, thank you, Dana. I'm really trying not to get too sidetracked off of this. What we're asking is whether or not this project has merit. But it seems, it's pretty apparent that we are. So with that, I'm gonna go through my list of questions. So whether or not this battery storage facility goes at this site or another site, those construction jobs would still be there, assuming it's the same scale. Is that correct? Maybe even more, particularly lay the line for the conduit to reach whatever other destination that's possible. Is that correct? So if they wouldn't be constructing here, they'd be constructing somewhere else.
It's hard to know that precisely.
So they wouldn't
I
be
would say,
constructing-
or I would say, especially in terms of the timing of it, if we're looking at a different location, we have no data on that right now. And frankly, if you have to run a gen-tie too far, it destroys the project. It won't happen. So you're asking a very hard question, Councilmember Silva. But to the extent, I can't say for sure.
So, well, it was mentioned that it had to be close. So what would be the distance? What is close?
Currently, it's a half a mile away.
To what, to, I mean, so the way, my understanding how electricity works, the further it goes, the more we lose electricity. So at some point, just like developers work in more units to compensate for anything that's subsidized, I'm not quite understanding why that couldn't be worked into pursuing another site. As far as accommodating more battery storage to acquire more revenue, to meet the loss of cost that's lost in energy that's transferred.
Yeah, so I think it's a valid question, but, I mean, we do explore a couple other options within, Vacaville, Vacadexon substation. Like, we just weren't able to, identify like willing landowner who's like willing to work with us. So that's like part of the equation. And I mean, it's kind of hard to like put the like exact distance, but, you're right, as, we move away from the substation, we're gonna lose more electricity due to like line losses. Those are the things that we considered, so.
All right, and so, can you please clarify how many jobs would be there at the, to maintain the battery storage site once it's constructed?
Yeah, so once it's fully operational, we anticipate up to 3 full-time workers.
Okay, and so for me, I mean, that's the whole point of why we as a council are pursuing biotech industry, because for every one job industry hires, there's 8 additional livable wage paying jobs that come along with that. And if we can find another, if city can please work with these folks to find another site, then to me, that's where we find the win-win, where folks can still get the construction jobs, we can still get better paying jobs long-term, that in the industry that's dedicated towards addressing any type of DEI component. 50% of the workforce is women. There's people through our programs, through local training programs that allow folks to get the training to enter this field. So I'm not, for me, I don't see the merit. The question was about ag. If my understanding is correct, if the zoning changed from ag to biotech, would the property value increase as well?
Yes. Absolutely.
How much?
Well, I can use what we just recently went through in the Vacaville Business Park, where that land sold for as little as $9 a square foot. Now, because of the biotech uses, we're looking at $15 a square foot.
Okay. Sorry, Dana.
Thank you. So just a couple of things, and it was touched on, but I do want to be clear, we absolutely support the community college and all of their efforts, and envision a really strong apprenticeship program, especially around electrical work and battery storage installation, which then translates into jobs for the future for those folks at the college and otherwise, in particular in the area of battery installation in residential settings. So this also has a pretty strong apprenticeship program. I've spoken briefly with the fire chief. We absolutely want to get in on the program that this council approved for $890,000. We would want to participate in that, perhaps contribute to it in order to bring, we'd have a real moment there for fire training as well. So we think there's value in that. And then finally, we're not precluding this entire area from moving forward. For every person who speaks to staff and says, we think battery storage is inconsistent, we have people, the property owner themselves will tell you other folks believe it is consistent for the very reasons that some of you have stated, which is it makes the area more reliable. And whether we could ultimately end up in contract with these other folks or not, that's pretty speculative. But we feel like this would be really supportive, and we want to be supportive of the community, 100%, whether it's a development agreement, community benefits program.
And I firmly believe that, and that's been consistent. So I guess my last question, and then my point, but last clarifying question is whether or not the power that's stored at this facility, would that be directly, would that always be coming back to Vacaville first? Would Vacaville always have priority access to that? Will those biotech companies have priority access to that energy?
So I would say not at the start, but that doesn't mean that it would, well, first of all, it's going to be 10 years before the specific plan, minimally 5 years before the specific plan is done, such that you would have the technology folks coming in. That's not, the customer right now is PG&E, right? They would get the wholesale,
to the grid
if
and
you
then-
will, and then it comes back. That doesn't mean that ultimately something couldn't occur, and Stephen can speak to that.
Yeah, another thing I'd like to mention on that point is the fact that that's out of our control, but basically we provide flexibility for California independent system operator, CAISO, to I guess operate the grid how they like, but our project brings flexibility. It will prevent them from, you know, like shutting down due to like rolling blackouts or unexpected blackouts. We're just there to like help them. And like Dana mentioned, PG&E like ultimately buys power from us, but we don't have control over how the electricity gets distributed. But it'll definitely help the city of Vacaville and also the region as a whole.
Yeah, so and thank you for explaining that. So to me, there is absolute value for our state and for our region for battery storage. There's absolute value in that. You know, where it goes, you know, council, you know, you guys are obviously looking at one particular spot. For me, this particular site, I mentioned it in the reasons before, to me, there's no merit in allowing this particular project here, but I'm absolutely in support of looking at and pursuing any other particular site that's within the city to meet the needs for all the folks that are involved.
Vice Mayor Roberts.
Yeah, Councilmember Silver already touched on all that stuff. I mean, like you guys know, I already spoke to you, that I'm the green energy technology pusher here on the council. We keep talking about like interim usage. What's the minimum amount of time you guys need to make this really pencil out if we are talking about interim use or?
I'm not sure I can answer based on the verb that you used, but we're planning for 10.
Or temporary use.
Yeah, we're planning for 20 plus 10. That's our plan. Plans can be adjusted. It's certainly not a 3-year or a 5-year plan.
Yeah.
Right? So maybe.
Yeah, so if you're talking about 20 plus 10, so 30 years.
Yeah, 30 is the maximum, I believe.
Yeah.
That is in terms
Even
of
a
the life of the
specific plan
project.
takes 10 years at the longest. Like
I mean,
we're
I hate to
talking
say
about.
10, but unfortunately, especially with COVID and everything, that's the direction.
So if
these
we're
things
looking
are
at 10
going.
years at the longest, like that's 20 years more that we can put biotech companies in that spot potentially.
Again, this is a merit hearing. All we're asking is for the opportunity to work with staff to develop whatever application works, whether it's part of the zoning map text amendment. I think there would be a use, well, I don't know if a use permit would ultimately be involved, but whatever that process is, it would also involve, and we've already committed to what we're calling, my people are calling a development agreement. That hurts me because it's a term of art, but community benefits package, and maybe it involved a sunset clause. We can't negotiate that here tonight. That is part of a long-term committed relationship with these two folks here that we work through. So I'm not going to say to you tonight that it must be 30 years.
No, I was just getting like about how long it'd take for you.
Yeah.
What's the minimum amount of time you guys would be there for it to make it actually work for you guys?
Yeah, I think 10 is a good number, but it's not, you know, again, that's something that would be negotiated. And let's say 20 years from now, somebody comes along. Cool. Ooh, let's make sure that we've considered that as the process moves forward.
And,
unless my client is looking like that's not correct. We have a 20 plus 10 right now.
okay. And then I know Councilmember Silva asked, we know that this project's about a half mile of transmission line to get there. What's the maximum distance that you guys can go and still be useful? So if we did come up alternate sites, what is the maximum distance you can go from that substation?
So we didn't really look into that for this specific project, but I mean, as a part of permitting process, I mean, we'd love to do our full due diligence and then maybe have that conversation down the road.
Because I know there's not a lot of other projects to compare this to around the country to know what the maximum distance is. You can, I thought electrical engineer to go through and say how far you can transmission line can be and still effectively use your batteries.
Yeah, and that's something that I can work with our internal team to just look into and then bring, I guess, revert back to you guys.
I would assume there's a tipping point where you lose profit.
Yeah.
You know, you could go 100 miles, but then it wouldn't be worth it.
Yeah, if I could add on to what he said, yeah, we did not come up with the exact number. It's different for every single site. Not only is there electricity losses along the way when you're operating it, but the cost of the constructing the Gentie is also pretty significant. So we did look at alternate sites. We looked at, I think, 2 other sites within the city. We also looked at sites in the county that are all surrounding the substation. This one made the most sense. We have landowner approval. There aren't any conflicting, there isn't conflicting infrastructure that we need to work through. We have a pretty direct route for the Gentie. And so of all of the sites that we've looked at, this is the best one. We can definitely provide you with more information though of our process to come up with this site though.
Anything else, Vice Mayor?
I know Don doesn't really have a timeline, but yeah, with the specific plan, I know we're looking at between 5, 10 years maybe. What are you seeing as potential timeline to get the specific plan going to actually get these northeast development moving?
I would say a comparator that this city has is the downtown specific plan, which took longer than we all anticipated due to COVID. It literally happened during COVID. That was a 3-year process. 10 years seems like that would be an extraordinarily ineffective specific plan process, which is not what we want to bring to you as our action plan, which is part of what you handled earlier this evening. But 3 to 5 years, if things go terribly, 5 years, but more realistically, 3 years is a reasonable time period to complete the studies and the specific plan.
I appreciate the honesty because we don't know what happens. Things can blow up in the next couple of years. So I do appreciate that. Did you want to add something first?
I did. I just wanted to add that, to piggyback on Ms. Morris, that yes, it took us 3 years to finish the specific plan, and that we're actually already implementing the items from the specific plan. So I'm not so sure about the characterization of 10 years. In my personal experience, Ms. Morris, please share yours. I've not worked for a jurisdiction that took us 10 years to complete a specific plan.
Understood. Vice Mayor, did you have anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. My next person is Councilmember Stockton.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Thanks for the community input. So this is District 1. This is a location that is near county homes, that is not far from the development that I live in. I've mentioned, I think at one other council meeting, that I happen to be on a hazmat team where I had some concerns regarding what, when this stuff burns, what it does. And I have seen, the evacuation of a community in Fairfield with only 400 pounds of some of these batteries. And I know there's going to be a lot more than those here. I do appreciate, I met with Dana Dean and her team. I think that they are doing things to mitigate some of those risks, and I appreciate that. However, I wanted to hear your pitch, and I've heard your pitch, and I do think that battery storage is something that we need to think about and that we need to put here in Vacaville. My concern is the location. I can understand economically, business savvy wise, why you want to be as close as possible to that power station, because it makes the most economic sense to go the shortest distance to connect to it. But I struggle with the fact that outside of all these gentlemen that are going to, and ladies, I'm assuming, yep, there's a lady back there that's going to help build this one of these beautiful facilities. There's only 3 long-term jobs. And for that, I just think that the juice isn't worth the squeeze, because we're going to have great people like this build whatever facility like this, wherever we put it, in a location that is not on the 80 corridor, that's not next to established homes, that's not going to provide safety concerns when these things catch on fire, if they catch on fire, if there's some sort of domestic terrorist type act, like we heard about earlier with one guy with a gun that I believe shot at one of the power station a while back and created some havoc for law enforcement. So, I trust that everybody is trying to do what is best, and I think that these are issues that we need to find a place to put something like this. We absolutely do. But I think that this location, slapping this right in the middle of this beautiful corner that's on the 80 corridor, that's right there off of Midway and Meridian, I mean, I believe, can you tell me, the Biotech Manufacturing Center, that's already spoken for in full, correct? So, I mean, there are other companies that are looking at this, at locations like this on the 80 corridor?
There are. We have, if all goes well within the next few weeks, there will only be 30 acres left that's available to develop in our Vacaville Business Park.
So is this a location that other biotech companies are at least considering or looking at to be next to it?
Absolutely. As I stated in the previous conversation, that we've already been in contact with at least 3 developers who are interested actually in developing the technology park. And it's our objective to really be able to develop a cutting edge and state-of-the-art technology park. The industry's told us what they needed. The realtors and developers have told us what's needed. And we're just trying to actually create the best possible technology park for our city. Some of the things you mentioned, Councilmember, as far as access to Midway Road and 80, is exactly why the development community is interested in the site, because of the location. That's attractive to businesses.
Okay, Councilmember Ritchie?
Shine is when this project can go into CEQA, the California Environmental Quality Act. As we're just in the merit hearing, our application hasn't even been started yet. We are nowhere near beginning that. But if we can get this application started and we could start a CEQA document, we can analyze all of the things that we've been discussing right now in detail. We can discuss impacts to traffic, to visual, and there's even an alternatives analysis that's included in the CEQA document. So if we can get to that point, we can have a incredibly detailed conversation about all of this. And at that point, decide if this project is approved.
Thank you.
And can I address that?
You can, you're the council member.
And I think that that's great. I know that you can do that. I just think that for this location, I don't want to wait. I know how expensive it is to do those environmental impact reports and to pay for all that. I don't want to waste your time if I don't think this is the right location for you to spend the money to do that. Now, when we do build something like this in Vacaville, I hope that we're fortunate to work with a company that is like yours, that really answered a lot of my questions and alleviated a lot of my concerns. My concerns regarding this project have nothing to do with your ability to build a quality facility at all. If anything, Ms. Dana Dean and her team have alleviated those concerns. It's this location and what we're giving up by putting this here for 20 to 30 years.
All right, Councilmember Ritchie.
Thank you so much for our comments from Voices a Little Better, Silva, and everyone else, Roberts and Roy, help me talk less at this point. You know, we're obviously just going to come back, but I want to come, this is like the third time we've kind of been here, and, you know, so whoever, which would be 3 years, the best in finances, I think it's time to talk. You use numbers, so now you have Vacaville Unified School District, and you have the city. So the way it flows is not the way you're describing. So at $2 million, the city does not directly get $2 million. It starts at the county, and then it goes to the city, and what portion goes to the Vacaville Unified. So, like, don't come back and tell me that we're getting $2 million. Tell me how much the county takes, tell me how much the city takes, tell me how much the Vacaville Unified School District takes. Because then it's yeah, so we'll then tell them that. So now, at $330 million, you stated your ROI is 10 years? You did. You said it would take 10 years to break even. So at $330 million to construct a project. So that's profitable.
Yeah,
So
I did not say that.
You did.
That wasn't my intention.
So if the ROI can be done in 10 years, please come back with the cost to do a half mile line, a mile line, a 10-mile line. If it's as profitable as you think, if you're gonna spend $330 million to build a project and have a lifespan of 30 years, break the math down. It works. Like, your ROI is huge. So what would you lose by taking from a half a mile to a mile to 10 miles?
And if I could respond to that?
Sure.
Mr. Mayor? So that's exactly the analysis that occurs as the project application moves forward. Yeah. In particular, in the alternatives analysis, but there's usually a very healthy economics analysis that attaches to the discussions and the reports that come for, actually, I think it goes to Planning Commission first and then ultimately would come to you. That's part of the normal process that we would be going through as we have the application move forward, perhaps with the zoning code text amendment.
So if you have the numbers for how much, say at $2 million, I thought it was 1.2, now it's 2 million. But at $2 million a year for taxes, why don't you tell us how much the city of Vacaville gets and Vacaville Unified School District gets instead of saying this overarching number, $2 million a year? Because the city's not going to get 2 million.
No, I think you're correct that it's 1.2.
So it's 1.2. So if 1.2
so
goes to the county, how much goes to the city?
2 million goes to the county. This is in very rough numbers, right?
Yeah.
Very rough.
Back
So
2 million to the county. What's your estimate to the city?
1.2.
And what portion goes to, out of 1.2 would go to Vacaville Unified School District?
I believe it's 800. And these are, I'm sort of pulling these out of memory.
That's 800 off 1.2?
I believe so. And I'm not a tax expert, sir.
Well,
I am not.
either, but
So
I'm a business expert. And so, I mean,
I'm
the
not a
point-
tax
yeah,
expert,
yeah.
and this is normally stuff that is detailed out in the regular process once we get past Vacaville's very special merit hearing process.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to bring all of that for you in more detail with supporting documentation that staff has suggested is necessary. That would be the normal process as we move the application forward. Absolutely.
Yeah, so, I mean, I get it. I mean, I kind of, my voice is better now, so I can talk a little more freely. It's just, it's numbers, it's business math. You know, at 26 acres is what you guys want to use. I think we should really advance this, but find opportunity to start looking at costs to go a mile away, 10 miles away, 5 miles away. At the city's gonna get $400,000 a year.
So please don't, that's just a rough number that I, as their
let's
lawyer,
estimate-
understand to be
let's estimate
true.
$400,000
I'm not a
year.
tax
Okay.
expert.
For fun, let's estimate 400,000. Our net is 400,000 on 20 acres. That's, you could have 10 employees in a room and generate that much tax revenue. I mean, I want to make sure that we do the right thing. And this land at 26 acres in this business at the Technology Park, for what Silva's really hitting passionately on, the jobs that we can create in the same square footage, was it 800 million for one place. 800 million, that's my phone, sorry. Okay. Annual revenue.
I would appreciate an opportunity to respond to your comments here. So firstly, I'm not a tax expert. I'm trying to answer the question in the most general way that I understand. During the normal process that would follow this determination to allow us to move forward with the normal process, we would detail all of this out in extreme methodologies to make sure that your questions are answered, and actually the questions of everyone regarding this kind of thing. Please don't hold us to the numbers that I just spoke to you off the cuff.
I don't want to hold you.
Number
but
one.
when you say it, I absorb it and
Yes.
have to kind of reiterate.
So number one, for the purpose of the merit hearing, we believe the $330 million number is correct and will probably go up. My very layperson calculation is what you've heard tonight. As we move the process forward, all of those details would be plain. Moreover, within the development agreement, which I believe staff I assume staff's been involved in development agreements before, or a community benefits package, whichever, or both, whichever that works out to be as the process moves forward, those things would be considered. So the tax revenue streams and how that all works is normally negotiated and set out when we get to the approval for the project, not at this moment.
Okay. I mean, I think battery storage is essential. It's a California mandate. We're going towards it. But my thing kind of piggybacks off Silva's. Let's say the cost goes to $400 million. If you want a 20-year plus 10-year, 30-year lease, at some point you're going to have a break even where you're going to pay for the cost to build and make profit. That's not going to be at the 30th year. You'll make profit probably at year 11. I'll say, well, yeah, I know, but it's just business, right? So it's, if you're going to make up $400 million worth of investment, you're going to break even at a certain point and be gainfully profitable. So just please come back with some real numbers. Say, hey, we're gonna spend 400 million, it's called $500 million. At year 13 out of 30, we're good to go. I think you can take some bit of that profit and look at other locations and still we all win. It's built, amazing jobs in the community, construction jobs. We all can win, but I have to make sure that we don't hold all the chips as one site. We need to make sure that we look at all sites. Therefore, it's a win-win for all of us.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Councilmember Sullivan.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it. So I don't have any questions. I'm just making statements. I'm just making that clear to the presenters. So can you pull up a City of Vacaville map while I start speaking? Because I'd like to see it on my screen. Not necessarily the project map, but a City of Vacaville map if you've got one. We used to have a big one in here, but it's gone. So I think, you know, after listening to all of the speakers tonight, kind of where we went, kind of where we're, oh, this is perfect. Yeah, thank you. I think there's a way to have an Oak Grove moment here. What I mean by Oak Grove is we started with a project that lots of people were dissatisfied with. We ended up with a project that was pretty damn good. So I think we could probably get everyone to a place where they're comfortable. Maybe not the property owner right away, but we'll keep you guys in mind, and I think you'll be happy later. So I'm not discounting your needs either. So oh, my screen just turned off for the map here real quick. Give me 1 sec. So I guess where I want to start is we have staff that are experts in the field, and we trust you. We trust your judgment. You're strongly recommending we don't do this project. I've spoken with Dana and her team. It's a beautiful and amazing project, and it makes tons of sense, and we need it for the grid. It probably doesn't produce a ton of tax revenue. It produces a couple jobs. It's going to be great for all the builders out there to build it. How do we kind of get everything that we need? And so we've been talking for a really long time, and I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent, but it'll all make sense, about zero net energy, right? That's one of the things we've been talking about. You guys have heard me talk about purple pipe a bajillion times, right? So on this map here, about 2 miles down Lewis Road, you can't actually see it. We have a water treatment plant with, how much available land do we have? Do you guys know?
Our water guy knows.
If you had to guess, the easterly site? Okay, well, 80 plus acres, right? So it's a treatment plant, right? This is where we process the city sewage. We're not going to build a biotech business or the next major business out next to the easterly treatment plant. We own the land, so we're a willing landowner that owns the property. Yes, it's about 2 miles from your existing site now, but what we also need for this project that you want to accomplish is we're going to need utilities. So we're going to need sewer, we're going to need water, we're going to need ideally purple pipe pumped to the north part of town and pumped over to North Village. I've been asking for a trench of purple pipe for years. I learned a new technical term today by your team, the gentie. Why couldn't we partner, work on that property there, and maybe even talk about your project and have both projects in a spot that makes absolutely perfect sense because no one's going to complain because it's a sewage plant and it doesn't impact any of our existing business. We run a trench down Lewis Road. We get our utilities run down the utility line for all these new bio businesses, which makes your property more profitable because you now have water and sewer and all the utilities that we need to sell that. And then we run purple pipe all over town, which makes me and Jason, Mr. Greeny's happy because we're running purple pipe and we're saving water. And we're pumping hundreds of thousands of recycled gallons of water into landscaping all over town because right now we don't have that anywhere but in a little teeny spot around the sewage plant. And then we work on a plan to actually add some solar panels. Maybe this community benefit program we're talking about with you guys, maybe you actually add a megawatt of power every year in solar, maybe on top of the battery array or at the water treatment plant. So what we could do is offset the cost for the gentie for you, put it in a location that makes sense. We own the land and the property. You're not gonna have any complaints about neighbors or other issues because it's the sewage plant. We keep intact your beautiful vision for this biopark. And at the end of the day, everyone's sort of happy. I have a billion other comments on here, and I'm gonna kind of go through these really quickly. On the noticing comment from the couple in the back, I'm really sorry, and the gentleman in the front, I think we typically go by like a geographic distance, and I'm guessing where you guys live, it's so sparse and kind of spread out, we probably just missed it. So I think for staff, when we're doing noticing, especially in the rural areas, we really should factor in the density of the housing, and that's probably why so many of your neighbors missed tonight, so I apologize, but it's probably an oversight on our part. Let's see here, I don't want to miss anything. To you guys, I want you to have good local jobs and build it here too. So let's build a 40-acre or 80-acre site instead of a 40-acre site. Let's build the trenching and the gentie. Let's get lots more jobs, and then you come back and build the technology park. So I mean, ideally, we could expand this. We could double the jobs. We could make it all happen on city land and get more local construction jobs for you guys as well. Construction yard gentleman in the back, cool, I don't mind. I mean, let's run your yard in the back. And if you don't mind, we run our utility lines through your yard on the way. I mean, maybe we can make a deal there. And, you know, in 10 or 15 years, when we have a big bio company coming in, you pack up shop and move out. And we'll, you know, I think it actually makes sense. There's a way to make this all work. The ag comment from the couple in the back, there is a park planned, I think, in your existing park plan. I mean, I think it'd be great to incorporate the neighbors and actually have them, the park feature. Maybe instead of having a big, ugly commercial building, we could actually have a park in your front yard or something that makes a little more sense. So I think we really ought to incorporate the neighbors into that part, the process for the park plan. I have costs for the applicant. Obviously, we want to keep costs down, but again, if we're sharing on the trenching of the utility line and we have free land out at Easterly, that reduces your cost, and maybe we can get it close to Pencil. The last piece here is like, we have dozens, if not hundreds of projects in your hopper. I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste your money. I don't want to waste your money. I don't like this location. It just doesn't make sense to me for a variety of reasons. I think there's a better location. There's a better option. We can kill multiple birds with one stone. And frankly, we can get everyone a better deal. And you're going to come tell me why that can't happen. But I think all of this can happen in a reasonable fashion. I'm not a big fan of location. I think we could do better. And if we're going to invest a ton of staff time in this, I want to do it in a way that we get multiple wins and the biggest bang for us. And I think there's a much larger opportunity here to do that. So please, if you've got comments to that.
A couple comments. First, the company has worked for a long time to have all the various components. And I'm sure you understand there are state agencies involved and everything else. And there are timelines involved. So again, we believe we can look at alternatives through the permitting process. But if we do not move forward with the permitting process, I don't expect that's going to happen. What you're describing is a huge undertaking because of the easements involved, the huge cost involved. Sure. And if the city wanted to participate with that, I don't think that the project you're describing necessarily excludes the project we're describing. I understand that you believe that that's a better location. But again, that's something that's addressed not before a merit hearing, but through the process. And we'd be happy to talk about that.
But I think the process is specific on the location. So I am not, is that correct or am I incorrect? If I don't want this location at all, is what Ms. Dean is saying, is that accurate or is that not accurate?
It's an alternative.
This item is about this location and the merits of this proposed land use at this location. In the earlier item the council discussed, staff was given direction to look for battery storage as one of the uses in the Northeast growth area.
And maybe there's a better spot, I guess, in the Northeast growth, but this area for me, that's the problem. And so I don't want to waste your time and money and have you go off and do all these studies for the merit hearing and come back and we deny it. So I'm wondering if there's a way to save your time and money and save staff's time and money and actually look at a different location. Maybe you come back and say it's completely unfeasible, we have to do this particular location, but I don't think that's the case. And again, I think there's a much larger win here for all of us. I get that this project makes sense. It pencils the most, it's the cheapest. You've already got the project, you've done the research, you've done the homework, but it just has so many other side effects that I think impact all these other aspects that aren't factored into your project.
I appreciate your position. I do, maybe I wasn't particularly clear, but in the 14 months that we've been in discussions and our application, the 9 months our application has been held back, other aspects of this particular project have moved forward, and we really need to anchor in, for the moment, a process. Now, maybe ultimately it ends up someplace else, but if we walk away tonight without a process anchored in, I don't necessarily think that that's possible.
So in concept, I understand what you're saying, and I'm okay with that. I just don't know how that translates to what staff are saying. But if the staff say we can do it that way, I mean, again, I just think this location is problematic, and the site is about 2 miles away, the proposed site that I'm talking about. We own the land. The easements are right there on the county road. I mean, I get I'm being Pollyanna a tad. But, I mean, again, I think there's a way to get everyone what they want, and honestly, maybe even double the size of your project, you know, and I think we could do an industrial tie-in there. We can get water and sewer to the property. I mean, it really could be a much larger benefit for everybody. And I think at the end of the day, like I said, no one's going to mind that we're putting a battery plant next to the sewage plant. They're just not. And so, but I understand what you're saying. I'm not a Fortune 500 CEO, but I know just based on the silly Moss Landing fire, which was terrible, and I knew you explained this earlier, it just got a ton of bad press, and maybe it's not even a real fear, but it's unfortunately out, and I'm not even saying I believe in that. I'm just saying I do believe when my economic development manager says, yeah, it's going to be hard to sell a big business with that there. And I'm not saying that's your fault. I'm not saying it's accurate. I'm not saying it's true. I'm saying I understand my economic development manager's perspective there. And if we're trying to land the next Genentech, the next biopark, I could see how it could be problematic. So I'd love to offer you a great alternative that could be better, could be bigger, and could be close to the same cost, if not the same cost.
As I can, we are not going to be able to consider the offer if we're not able to move forward with a process because of the other pieces on in the puzzle.
Sure.
I believe that to be
Thank
true.
you. Okay, I'm gonna hold, Councilmember Wiley.
Thank you very much for the information, and I just want to see if my understanding is correct of where we are. And bring us back to tonight's item is a merit hearing. And the only thing we're voting on is whether or not it will be going forward for discussion. And part of that discussion will be back and forth about the cost and where it could be. And although the discussion says for this location, part of that discussion could be, are other locations acceptable, or let's look at the pluses and minuses of these other locations. If you say it doesn't work here, and they may say, well, if it doesn't work there, after our looking at, we are not going to go forward with it. Or they might say, if it doesn't work there, we'll look at your other plans, and then they may go forward with it. But it will come back to the council if the applicant decides to come forward, and then we would have either that location that we would vote on, or an alternate location, or no location. But tonight is the specific hearing for this. And as long as we're talking about timelines, it's very untimely that it is tonight, that we weren't bringing just the, will they bring it back, 9 months ago, rather than now, because all these other pieces have fallen into place. And, you mentioned about the specific plan for the downtown, and I've only been on since 2020, as almost everyone has, except for two. We're kind of coming into the game when a whole lot of other things have been happening. And yes, we approved the downtown specific plan. It's going to take a long time for everything in that downtown specific plan to be in place. Just like when this specific plan is finished is not, whether it's 3 years or 5 years or 10 years, that is not where we're going to see those biotech things on the interstate, producing these jobs for people. That's when the specific plan is beginning. So then people will decide, do we want to come to Vacaville or not? So I just want to bring it back. Is that where we are? An accurate assessment of here's where we are, what we're voting on tonight. And then the second question is, as far as timelines go, we've heard from landowners who have talked with, the applicant. Where are we, the city, with landowners if we're looking at this big piece of land? I mean, would the city acquire that land, or would each of those landowners then have to have an agreement with the city?
I'd like to answer the second question first. As part of the specific plan process or any zoning amendments affecting the Northeast growth area, property owners will absolutely be communicated directly with. It's unlikely the city would be trying to acquire land. There is a scenario for public improvements where that could be a thing, but just generally speaking, property owners would be notified. On your first question, at the heart of the city's unique merit hearing process is before the applicant is allowed to move through a formal review process, the council gets to decide whether they see merits of the proposal, and in this case, on the site that it is. So I believe earlier this evening, the council gave very clear direction to staff that you want us to look at battery storage facilities generally and specifically in the Northeast growth area and maybe in other places as well. This item is about this specific site and whether there's merits of considering a battery storage facility on this specific site.
Merits of considering it. And so during that consideration, other locations may come up. But if we vote no on this tonight, then where are we if we vote no?
Then staff would be working with this applicant. I believe there's another gentleman in the room who's also interested in battery storage and others in the Northeast growth area on an appropriate location for a battery storage facility. Whether it's in the Northeast growth area, whether it's someplace else, it would be part of the process the council launched this evening.
Are you good? Okay, and thank you for everything. My plea to this council tonight, and we couldn't even discuss it, and Dana made a great point, and this is not open for negotiation right now. But my plea to the council tonight is give these folks the opportunity to bring us back a development agreement that could be lucrative to the city, more than the $400,000. And I'm going to be very open and honest right now, because you and I have talked about this. You know, I would probably want you out in 10 years. I would definitely want millions and millions of dollars from you guys coming to the city of Vacaville. I'm going to want to see something. And if that scares you, well, then that scares you. But I'm going to give you the opportunity to come back and go, Ron, I'm going to put a sports complex in here. Well, hey, listen, a sports complex in here just for the 10 years that I'm going to be here. You know, I want to hear something from you. And we've discussed this, and I know I'm joking right now, but I want to know, how much can I take from you guys, from your amount that you're going to make, and how quickly can we sweep you up and get you out of here so I could put a biotech campus out there. Now, I'll tell you right now, the state fund promised the city of Vacaville that they would double their campus. Sits out there, same size. I don't know how many years ago. That had to be 10 years ago. Novartis left us. Also left us. To say that this biotech is coming and it's going to be here, and I appreciate it, I do. And it might, again, that crystal ball, it would be great if we just said, oh yeah, these people are absolutely coming. But if I'm not going to sit here tonight and let these people leave when they can come and bring me maybe possibly millions of dollars extra in this development agreement or community benefit, that's a beautiful sounding thing. I want to hear it. And if you come up and you say, hey, all we can come up with is this, I'm probably going to vote no. So just be aware of that. You're going to have to come up with something dazzling and say, hey, I'm going to get out of your way so you can have this biotech campus. And so tonight, I'm going to motion to move this forward and dazzle me. I'm looking at all you guys. Dazzle me. Bring me money. That's all I want from you, really. I just want money. And let's move this forward, at least give you an opportunity. We might still vote no on you. And I'll make that informed motion. Thank you.
I want the jobs that biotech brings that saves people's lives.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm not selling
I'll do a
out
roll
our
call
future
vote.
workforce.
Councilmember Wiley?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Roberts?
No.
Councilmember Sullivan?
No, on this location.
Councilmember Stockton?
No.
Councilmember Ritchie? Councilmember Silva?
No.
Mayor Rolette?
Yes, so it dies. Thank you very much. Okay, we will move on to the next item. Item 9C.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. This next item is a resolution authorizing the filing of an application with the Metropolitan Transportation Commission for allocation of Transportation Development Act funds. We have Brian McLean, Assistant Director of Public Works, to make the presentation.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council. Tonight's presentation will be done by Lori DeMassa, our Transit Coordinator.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. As stated, this item is seeking authorization to file an application with the Metropolitan Transportation Commission for allocation of Transportation Development Act funds for fiscal year 22-23 in the amount of $9,757,370 for Vacaville City Coach transit operations and capital projects. The City Coach program is funded through three sources: collected passenger fares, federal dollars through the Federal Transit Administration, and state funds through the Transportation Development Act. The Transportation Development Act funds are generated through local sales and fuel tax. The Metropolitan Transportation Commission is the metropolitan planning organization responsible for allocation and distribution of TDA funds. The estimated available funds for fiscal year 22-23 is approximately $5.3 million. And in order to access the TDA funds, a TDA application must be submitted to MTC. City Coach's TDA funding needs for operations consists of various public transit programs. These programs are City Coach Fixed Route, City Coach Special Services, which is our paratransit program, City Coach Direct, which is our micro-transit on-demand program, our local taxi script program, and our contribution to the intercity taxi script program. For fiscal year 22-23, the TDA operations request is $2,272,370. TDA funding for City Coach capital needs are for the following 8 projects. Project number 1, which was previously approved by City Council, is the electrification charging system infrastructure for $2,260,000. Project number 2, previously approved by City Council, is the electric bus procurement for $3 million. Project number 3, previously approved by City Council, is the expansion of the transit building for $1 million. Project 4 is to procure transit amenities and COVID-19 sanitation requirements for $250,000. Project 5, fixed route bus fleet upgrades, is for $400,000. Project 6 is upgrades to our transit compressed natural gas station for $100,000. Project 7, which was previously approved by City Council, is the Corporation Yard Administration Building for $375,000. Project 8 is for the transit facility maintenance upgrades for $100,000. This brings the total TDA capital request for fiscal year 22-23 to $7,485,000.
And council, just a quick update on project number 1, the electrification charging system project. We were notified by PG&E just last week. We received our congratulations letter, and so our grant application through the EV fleet program was accepted. The project estimate that we will be generating savings from through that project by PG&E picking up that work is over $500,000. Additionally, on the bus procurement, as Lori and I presented back in March of this year, we were waking up and making sure we are ready for the opening of the California electric vehicle zero emission bus hybrid incentive program. We were able to get our application in at the crack of dawn, and we were ultimately awarded $1.2 million, which helped to offset our cost and reduce this cost out of the TDA. So both successes in achieving those grant fundings.
For the project site, for project number 1, the transit electrification charging system, and project 3, the expansion of the transit building, is at the City of Vacaville Corporation Yard, located at 1001 Allison Drive. In terms of environmental, the action before you of seeking authorization to submit a TDA application is exempt from CEQA. The electrical charging system infrastructure project and the expansion of the transit building will be evaluated prior to project initiation. These projects will be managed through the Public Works Capital Improvement Program, and we will bring them back to City Council for consideration of project award authorization at a future council meeting. For fiscal impact and strategic goal, in terms of fiscal impact, there is no impact to the city's general fund. City Coach is a self-funded program, and the remaining TDA balance will be maintained for maintenance of transit infrastructure and vehicles. The strategic goal is goal number 4, to maintain effective and efficient services. And the recommendation is by simple motion to adopt the subject resolution.
Great, thank you for the presentation. I'll open it up to public comment. Seeing no public comment tonight, I'll bring it back for motion.
Sullivan on motion.
Thank you. I'll second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Great. 9D, Assistant City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Up next, we have a council presentation on the Vacaville Police Department Clinical Services Unit by Paula Ledoux, our Clinical Services Administrator, and Chief Schmetzler.
Thank you, Georgianne. Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council, I am pleased to sit up here with Paula Ledoux, our Clinical Services Administrator, to give an overview of first FRC, PAL, and our Clinical Services Division. You'll be amazed with the amount of work that's being done. So without further ado, Paula Ledoux.
Nice.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share with you a little bit about the work that we do. And I am going to provide some numbers about the work that our staff has accomplished in the past fiscal year. So first slide. Okay, so just a broad overview of who we serve, basically everyone. Different programs and services are offered to different folks. Victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, elder abuse, human trafficking, and child abuse are assisted in our first unit, Family Investigative Response Services team. We also help first-time youth offenders in both our youth development programs and youth services section counseling programs. Children and youth in the schools aged 5 through 18. We have counseling programs. Families with children 0 to 17 in the Family Resource Center. Low-income individuals, families, and seniors struggling to meet basic needs are all assisted in the Family Resource Center. And again, vulnerable children and youth. And this just little org chart just to show the different units. Overall, clinical services is part of 2 different units, the first unit and the YSS unit. So it's multidisciplinary, and we're co-located with the detectives. We have detectives in the first unit and detectives in youth services, and the clinical staff and the detectives all work together to assist the citizens. Family Resource Center is a child abuse prevention model. So we work closely with child welfare services, and there are networks of family resource centers all over the state. So I'm a member of a state resource council, and then also Solano County Children's Network does the coordination for our county, and we work closely with all the family resource centers in the city. And so folks come to us usually for basic needs when they're in crisis and they need financial assistance. But we do more than just that. We're not just handing out checks or, providing rent without really meeting with folks and talking to them and doing a comprehensive assessment. We have an assessment tool that we use. It's a matrix assessment where we look at the whole family and including community engagement in schools, what types of relationships they have with their children, whether or not the children might be at risk of any type of abuse, how engaged they are in other community in terms of recreation. We do a lot of referrals to recreation here, also the PAL program, which is another PAL program we have. And so I have a list of, in the past year, numbers of people that we served and amounts, and we did 616 of these basic needs assessments where we helped folks with rent, food, and utilities. Season of Sharing rental assistance is another program that our workers actually complete the applications and work with Season of Sharing to do that. And we had 70 families assisted with that. 800 boxes of diapers were distributed. We do that in partnership with the First Five Commission in the county. We also assist our housing department here in the city. And this year we helped with 127 emergency vouchers, mainstream vouchers. So our staff works with the housing specialists, and folks will come into our office and meet with us, and we'll assist with that. And then we also teach parenting classes. And this year 24 families attended the parenting classes. Okay. So in the SVU, as I mentioned, we work with the detectives. So the cases come from patrol, and all of the cases that have to do with any of these types of crimes, and they're assigned to, our sergeant assigns them to clinical staff and detective for follow-up. And so, so this year, our family support workers contacted 1,797 victims to offer support services. They don't all accept, obviously, but we let them know that we're there. We'll call 3 times. If we can't get, phone contact with them, we'll send a letter with resources. So they, 83 victims were assisted with restraining orders by our staff, and 120 cases had follow-ups with that. We also will accompany the victims to court if they don't have transportation, and just for support, because it can be overwhelming and if they're not, sure what that process looks like. And so last year we had 195 court accompaniment. And then you can see all the cases that we worked with and followed up on. Okay, so in our youth services section, we have prevention and intervention. The youth development programs include our Police Activities League and also Summer at City Hall. Those have grown quite a bit in the last few years. And then our intervention programs include the counseling with the contract that we have with Vacaville Unified School District. We're in all the elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools in the city, providing direct counseling in group, individual, and family. And then our youth diversion program is for first-time offenders. So if youth are arrested and they don't have a history, instead of being sent to probation and becoming involved with the criminal court, they can agree to participate in our diversion program, where they meet with the diversion counselor, usually like twice a month, and are required to complete community service and maybe attend counseling. The contract will differ for each individual. We also have the prison outreach program run by some of the inmates that work with our gang intervention family support worker, where we are able to bring youth and their parents through a program there. It's not like Scared Straight. They're not mean to the youth. They're actually very nice to them and talk to them and provide counseling and a lot of encouragement. Pretty good program. Okay. Al, again, with the prevention, we have PAL Kids and PAL Teens. The PAL Teens work alongside our staff and helping with the PAL Kids and help run those programs. Some of the activities that we do include Shop with a Cop, Present Patrol. We take the youth to leadership conferences. Junior Giants every summer is a big program that we do, where officers come out and help. We also have had mental wellness workshops where we have the youth actually leading some of those and really helping with the planning for that. They'll come to the youth roundtable and participate in all of those planning meetings. So that's more leadership development for them. And just some numbers for you with these youth development programs. We had 208 youth served last year, 121 male, 87 female. 94 meetings and activities with a total of 1,885 visits. 15 counseling interns. So these are not employees, these are volunteers earning, they're usually master's degree students, and they're getting their clinical counseling hours towards licensure and also towards their degree. And our mental health coordinators and clinicians do the clinical supervision for them. And they are located in all of the schools in the district, and that's a contract that we have with Vacaville Unified. And last year we had 2,281 counseling sessions. And there was a huge increase in the number of students that had indicated possible suicidal ideation. So our interns and staff assist with that, did 120 suicide assessments last year. And we provide individual, group, and family sessions. And you could see with the pie chart that the greatest issue that the youth are concerned with this past year was anxiety. And then the second largest was depression, and then family conflict. And we had 42 youth participate in our diversion program with a 79% success rate for completion. Right now, there's 17 current open cases where they're working through their contract. And so when they are on the diversion, we assess all of them with, it's called the MAZI, and it's a substance abuse assessment. And if that's an issue for them and they need help with that, but maybe not treatment, we'll refer them to the in-house group that we do, intervention group, that has some, provides kind of psychoeducation on substance abuse and helps them identify, maybe why they're using and what can you do instead. And we refer to all kinds of community programs also that can be helpful. I'm not going to go through every single one of these, but we included this just to show you that there are different funding sources. Number one on top, FRC, that's City of Vacaville, that you all voted to fund for our Family Resource Center, so thank you very much. We appreciate it. We used to get that funding from the county, but we no longer do, so this really, really helps our families when they're in crisis. And then also the American Recovery Act funds that you voted for us. We've been spending that quickly. And the rest are contracts that we have through Children's Network and other grants. So we look for grants, even if they're small, just to help. And they're all direct financial assistance to the clients, not funds for staff or salaries. For our staffing, right now we have the clinical services administrator, myself, 3 mental health coordinators. 1 is currently vacant. 1 is anticipated to retire in November, so we'll be down 2. Mental health clinician, 1 full-time or part-time, just started this year. We have a management analyst at PAL. Some of you may know, Judith Franco, and 1 at the main PD, and currently have 1 program coordinator. She assists in the youth development programs. We have 5 family support workers, 3 at first, 1 at youth services, and 1 currently vacant that should be first for the first unit. And with college interns, that's actually 1 filled, 2 vacant, should say now 2 filled, 1 vacant, making progress. 1 admin tech, and then 3 office assistants. And that's the total. And that's it.
All right.
We're not asking for anything, just letting you know what's going on.
First of all, thank you very much for the presentation. You guys, I don't think anyone understands how much you actually save, not only finances for the city. It's so much preventative, with the kids and with the domestic violence and everything else that goes on out there. And no one really hears about you. I know we always dote on our police department. They are fantastic. I love them all. However, you guys do a ton of work behind the scenes that nobody sees.
We are the police department too.
I understand that. And I appreciate the comment. However, I don't think you guys get enough credit, and I'm trying to give you guys credit because you guys are fantastic. I've been able to take tours throughout my career sitting up here, and a lot of folks didn't know that your guys, a lot of your stuff was on a chopping block when we were in the recession.
Yes,
and I was like pulling my hair out because I was like, no, you don't understand how much this actually saves us. I know right off the bat, I think you said 1.7 million. Everybody's like, oh, we saved 1%. You guys do a fantastic job. Thank you very much. I'm excited that you came down tonight. I'm going to open it up public comment, and I'm going to close public comment and bring it back. And I believe Councilmember Sullivan was up first, and I apologize if you weren't, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I echo the mayor's comments. I think it's some of your employees are some of my favorite employees in the entire city. You guys just do such amazing, wonderful work. And, I have a day job in government as well, and I haven't seen a program like this in my travels in probably a 3-county radius, and just the services you guys offer are amazing. I've had to use the services personally for myself once actually, in probably one of the lowest, points in my family's life, and it just, the professionalism, the caring nature, and just the big-hearted, confidential professional staff that you have was just so deeply appreciated. You mentioned there's $146,000 from the school district. I assume that's probably their contribution for the clinician interns. Is that correct?
So the interns are not paid. We use it to pay for now we're using it to pay for the part-time mental health clinician.
Okay.
And then a little bit of the salaries of the 2 coordinators on city staff that do the clinical supervision for them.
Okay.
And then some of it is for supplies, art and
Okay.
play therapy supplies.
All right. And then you mentioned the county is no longer contributing to the program. Is that correct?
Correct.
Is there a reason why that's the case, or why?
It's politics.
Sure. Well, I guess the reason I ask, so my day job now in YOLO is working for YOLO County Mental Health Services. So
Yeah.
it's one of my programs, and
Yeah.
we contribute, we're actually standing a program up now to have a full-time mental health clinician paid for by the county in every school district. And
Yes.
we're pumping image safe funds into the
Yeah.
cities. And if I could find a police department like you guys in YOLO County, I would be showering you with money and
Yeah.
trying to hire clinicians because we can't find them. So that's not happening here, is what it sounds like.
We went, to the county meetings and tried to advocate as a network, but they chose to spend it on other programs.
I know in the city manager, I would love if we can advocate at some sort of higher level for that. I think that actually is a bit of an atrocity on the county's part, seeing that they have so much money coming in for children's mental health, and quite frankly, the services are pretty limited. They're great services, but again, the work that you guys are doing in the schools compared to what the county's doing is pound for pound. It's just hands down really effective. So I don't know how we can broker that higher level discussion. I'm going to call a couple of my county friends soon, because we need to fix that. And I think, again, you have a successful delivery model. They should be funding you. They get millions from the federal government for that. The last piece I want to add really quickly is, second to that, I think we should be matching whatever the school district's shipping in. So we had 86,000 or something like that. I'd love to see 146,000 next year as a match. I don't know where you guys are at on this, and I know it's not the time tonight, but I think, like Ron mentioned, a dollar of prevention is worth, 10 pounds of reactive nature on the back end. So I'd love to see an increased budget request next year. I think what you guys do is so vital, and it also is cost savings and saves for crime prevention later. So please come with an ask. I think that's one of the things that probably every one of these council members agrees on, is the services you provide, which that's kind of a rarity. So don't be afraid to ask, and ask big. We just had a council meeting, 2 meetings back, and we all talked about how terrified we were of active shooters and students. This is how you prevent that. You have really qualified mental health clinicians on campuses. We can't have a police officer on every campus, but maybe we can have a couple clinicians that are screening kids. So I think this is one of the tools that we should be looking at more to lean on, and honestly, it's already really effective now, so how do we supercharge it? So just really proud of the services you offer. You have some amazing staff, so whatever you're doing, it's totally working. Thank you for coming to present, again, one of the hidden gems of the city, and you guys just do amazing work.
Councilmember Wiley.
Thank you also for the presentation. Good to see the breadth of the program, all the way to adults and families. When you talk about the school district, are you mostly in the high schools, or you also deal with the elementary schools?
No, we're in every elementary school, both of the middle schools, Vacaville, Wood, Kimmy, I'm going to get it wrong. I was going to say Community Day, but now it's Shireen Wilkerson, I believe. We're also there, so it's all of them.
So my question is, Cambridge and Foxborough, are they included?
That's Travis.
I know, but it's
yeah.
in Vacaville.
No, yeah,
so
no.
How can
They, years ago we were. And we had another mental health coordinator that coordinated all the Travis schools, but their school board voted not to fund that anymore. So when they stopped funding it, city council decided not to pay for the mental health
5 people are running for 2 spots. So I might ask the question of the candidates for school board, where they are with funding that. So I know that people at Travis have participated or been able to participate in the parent project.
Yes.
Is that through this?
Yes.
So that is available to
yes.
Travis?
Yes.
Just not having a clinician in the
Yes.
school.
And if they're Vacaville residents, they come to the Family Resource Center and get help.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
also.
Right. Okay, and then I do have one question. When you were talking about the Special Victims Unit.
Yes.
On the chart, one of the little acronyms was TRO, and I didn't know what TRO
I'm sorry,
is.
temporary restraining order.
Oh, okay, thank you. Now I know.
Yes.
That's it.
Fantastic. All right, Councilmember Silva.
Thank you, Paula, and congratulations on taking a tough seat from Gloria.
Big shoes to fill.
Yeah. So maybe I'll just start off with back to school. So, you know, we're talking about, you know, prevention and whatnot. So my understanding was that we were able to have a police officer or someone in uniform at every single school site to back to school, including, I think somebody was at Payton, I forget who, but yeah. So maybe can you comment on that, Chief?
Absolutely. This was actually something that was brought to me by Captain Poland and some others in the department. Obviously, with what we discussed at it was either the previous council meeting or the one before, with all the things that have happened nationwide, and obviously parents are, you know, somewhat on edge. And it's an emotional day anyways, especially at the elementary schools. There's a lot of kids crying because mom and dad are dropping them off for maybe the first time. So to have a uniformed member of the police department standing out there with the principal and other staff members, it was something that only took maybe 30, 45 minutes at the most, but we were able to make those connections both at the beginning of the school day and then as they let out school as well. I got to meet the new principal at Wilsey Wood, which was fantastic. And so it's just another one of those engagement opportunities that we have. And it's critically important, especially with, you know, with the youth and their parents. So I'll give credit to Captain Poland for that.
Thank you. And I think, so a couple of things. So I kind of shared that to somebody that I personally know is very critical of policing. And the first thing was like, oh, so community policing, that's great. So you please that particular individual. And I think that's, you know, that's what it takes, you know, to approach our folks who may be having a lot of issues going at home, the mental health issues that may be going on at home, or stresses, just, you know, which I know is a big overlap, that obviously influences the well-being of the kids. And it just shows that how we're all truly committed towards doing what we can within our capacity to create a better quality of life for everybody involved. Can you comment real quick on some of the PAL activities? I've seen, well, I'm very familiar with, you know, Junior Giants over the summer.
Yes.
I saw camping trips. I've been talking about camping trips privately.
Yes.
With Judith Franco, so I'm a little jealous I didn't get invited.
They went camping.
But I think it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
I saw the DC trip.
Yes,
I don't know what DC has that City Hall don't have, but you know, can you comment a little bit more about that?
Yeah, just that all happened, and I think what was really great about it, from feedback from staff and what I saw, is that a lot of the families that brought their children wouldn't have access to that otherwise. You know, they can't afford Little League or travel ball or, you know, whatever. And a lot of them were clients that we've worked with for years and that our staff know and have known for years. So that's the Junior Giants specifically. For the youth that got to go to DC, that was for the PAL conference in DC, a leadership conference. None of them had ever flown before. And again, it's the same thing. It's, you know, from families that there's no way they could have afforded that. They wouldn't have the opportunity. So, you know, it's opening a whole new world for them.
So my only question as far as services go, and so I'm hearing a lot of concerns from different residents, you know, throughout the town, but particularly certain areas. Do you see any challenges with our ability to connect with certain demographics in our city? As far as maybe certain folks maybe reporting issues happening, or going out to ask for help? Is there any type of disparities or any type of data that shows we need to?
Paula can probably speak to a little bit more specifics, but I know in working with Gloria for as many years as I did, that there is concern, and it kind of ebbs and flows depending on sort of the broader social issues that might be taking place in the country about certain groups that are fearful of coming forward to report crime or domestic violence. That, throw in a pandemic when everybody is pretty much forced to be together, you don't have those reporting opportunities that would normally arise at the school site, where you have a child that's either observed, you know, that something doesn't look right, or is able to confide in an adult that something's not right. So all of those, I think, kind of have really come to an apex over the last few years. And looking at the numbers that Paula's discussing, and again, she can get more into, sort of the underrepresented groups and the challenges with that reporting. It's just been a watershed period of time. I had a chance to welcome the new interns last week, and I've said before, if we could give you double points, we would, because the need is so critical now with, you've seen the statistics with the number of youth that are really struggling, anxiety, depression. So I'll let Paula maybe talk about some of the challenges with certain groups that have
So I didn't pull numbers in terms of demographics and who we help, but I know in the 23 years that I've been here, when we do those reports, we typically serve a number that's percentage-wise proportionate to the population. So that it's not disparate. I know sometimes you might see that with arrests and, when we do the probation, multidisciplinary, sometimes you see that, but for us with our services, we don't. And I think it does help that most of our staff is bilingual and bicultural, and also just that we've been there for so many years. And so the community, word kind of gets out. And even when we get a new source of funding, people will call and say, hey, I heard there's new funding for something, or I heard I could get diapers or whatever. And word kind of spreads fast. So, yeah.
So just this last comment. So, again, I'm very grateful for the council for approving funding to bring on a group called the Health Education Council. Well, I know I'm not giving direction, but I will share your contact for them to contact you and have you and your team's input. To me, my part of my efforts is really focusing on how do we support, I guess, the grassroots, or how do we support the community members themselves, bring up and be the advocates for the direction that they would like to see their neighborhoods and community move forward. So, but you obviously are doing a great job already. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Councilmember Stockton.
Yes, thank you for the presentation. Thank you for the hard work that you do, and the kids and the families that you serve. I just wanted to find out, so you're all clinicians, but do you work, I know you said you're part of the police department, which I love hearing.
Yeah, I'm a police department employee.
Right, so do you actually have sworn officers that are assigned to work with you, or do you reach out? Okay,
yes,
so how many?
I work with, we have one sergeant in the first unit. So my office is in the first unit, but I oversee first and youth services section. So our unit has a sergeant, and it's supposed to have 4 detectives, but right now we only have 3, just because of staffing issues that we have right now. And we work with the detectives on the cases. Our advocates are certified domestic violence advocates. Most of them have at least a bachelor's degree, and so it is confidential. However, we work together. We advocate for the clients with the detective, or the detective might, want us to give a message to the victim, and, we're together, and we work together. The offices are right in the same suite. Yeah.
So everybody's next to each other to help each other out.
Literally, yeah. We're all friends, and yeah.
So do I understand correctly that we actually have clinicians that are handling diversion with the kids that, instead of going to juvenile hall or being on a form of probation, it's a clinician that
exactly. It's if you've ever heard the phrase like school to prison pipeline, we're trying to prevent that and stop it, and offer support for the family and support for the students instead.
That's fairly unique. There are a lot of other agencies that don't employ that model and actually have youth services, school resource officers and stuff filling that role. So I think it's very forward-thinking and innovative. We are very fortunate in Vacaville to have people like you assisting our law enforcement officers in our community and providing
our
these services.
School resource officers are very integrated into their schools and very involved in the schools, and sometimes they're more like the social workers than the social workers. Yeah.
That's good too. It takes the right person to fill that role, but it is nice to know that they have professionals like you assisting them along the way to serve the community. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Councilmember Ritchie.
All right.
Oh, I'm sorry. I figured it didn't matter.
It's all right. It's better now for some reason. I just really kind of thank you for everything you do. It's the first time I met you. So I don't have a relationship with you as the last person in the role you took over, but kind of piggybacking on what really with Sullivan and Silva and Stockton kind of poured out passionately. It's amazing. I got while I was reading the information from first, and then the SRO program kind of segues from the last time, kind of poured out passion, like how important I think it is to get this right, make sure we have the SROs in place when the kids go back to school, how important that is to make sure that all of our units are staffed. And the work you do is amazing. Like all the things are broken down. It's just staggering how much work you guys do behind the scene. I mean, just some of the numbers stuck out, like 197 different times you guys have helped people go to court. There's only 250 business days in a year. Almost every day, you guys are pulling someone off another task to help a person. Like that's actual, tangible. I mean, it's just, I heard the numbers, like, my God, that's, you are taking someone out of the community to assist them to go to Fairfield, and they're outside of the ability to help other people in Vacaville. But that person's the most important person in the world to them. And as I appreciate what you're doing. In 1,791 cases, that's a lot. And
we're very busy.
yeah, I mean, that's very busy, but that's also, that busyness adds restraint on your team and strain on the whole police department. And it's just, then staffing came up, and then talk about 3 vacant positions in SVU. I mean, for me, it's like, the most important thing is like making sure if we can't take care of our youth and elderly, who are we? I mean, we gotta protect the kids and make sure that the most vulnerable, and also our women, are just protected. I mean, there's a few things I want to start, but in the city, but it's just, when you talk human trafficking and domestic violence, I shared a case with an officer actually at the gym. I belong to a group, it's like Black professionals, and there's a case there's talking about just inside this little group about a female lawyer that almost got caught in human trafficking. So she was well off, and she was in her car, people pretending like they're in trouble. They went up to her window, and they said, help us, there's 2 girls. It was a total scam. And she was being nice, she helped them. They came back, oh, here, thank you so much. They handed her a rose. And so she's like, didn't think nothing of it, on her thing. They came back 10 minutes later, they're looking inside the car, and it was laced with fentanyl. They're expecting her to smell the rose, pass out, and take her for human trafficking. It's like that happens. And like, it's just, when I heard the story, here my voice goes. It just really made me think about how important it is to have a fully staffed, like the first and the SVU. I mean, these are people that can be your sister, your daughter.
Yeah, I forgot to mention the human trafficking assistance that we provide, but we do that. Our FSWs do that too.
To me, like, human trafficking is, I mean, it's become a very profitable pipeline for a lot of the cartels and gangs. Yeah. I mean, it's something that if we can do something to stop sex trafficking, human trafficking, along with making sure kids in our schools are safe, I'm all for it. And it's just, when I heard the number of staffing, 3 positions, it doesn't sound like a lot, but if you're handling almost 2,000 cases, that's strain. And so what do you miss by just being too busy? So like, my kind of question ask is for your department, are 2 positions, 3 positions, is that all you need? Or what else can help? And then overall, if SVU is, I have a question mark, so like if that's in strain, what else do we need to do to staff, or at least get a number? Like, can you provide us a number, sir, of like your total staffing? Like, where are the holes? Like, where are the holes in the cheese? What do we need to do to make sure?
All over back.
Well, I know, but let's start here, and before my voice goes down, like.
I can share. So specifically to SVU, it's actually, we have a sergeant and we have 4 total detective positions. 3 are currently filled. So we're actually only down 1 in that position. Every other specialty assignment has at least 1 up to 3 vacancies. So we're, again, it goes back to that prioritization of looking at what we're, what the needs of the community are and making those adjustments on a very regular basis.
So you mean like each department has up to 3 vacancies?
Each unit, yeah. Some units have, investigative services section, for instance, they normally have 9 detectives. And that it includes digital crime, so the child pornography investigations. So we have that position staffed, but because of the need for patrol staffing, when somebody retires, we'll have 11 more retirements before the end of the year. When somebody retires, then that patrol staffing position needs to be filled, and so we have to delay putting somebody else in that position. We have minimums that we go to within each of the specialty assignments, but if we hit a certain number, it essentially nullifies that assignment. So it's a constant, review and revision of where staffing needs to be moved and how we do that. And it's symptomatic to law enforcement all over the place, and it's just a matter of, great credit to the city management, to finance and HR, everybody putting their heads together to look at solutions for, how we stay competitive and how we, in the region, how we work to, show off our product. Vacaville has a lot of intangible incentives. It's a great place to live and to work. That's kind of one of our themes: live, work, serve, all in the same community. And so being able to work with, within the city department family to be able to come up with these solutions, and how do we, get ourselves out there and attract more lateral and academy graduate candidates. We still have a decent pipeline of entry-level folks, but again, those take almost a year from the time we hire them until they're out on the street. So I would say, that's the biggest challenge, is just the recruiting, but I can also tell you that I know there is work being done.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it's just, I heard the numbers, I have a voice, I heard the numbers, it's a lot of work, and what you're doing is so important. And to me, it's overarching, it's like, burnout. I mean, you guys can get burnout helping other people. So it's something it's really happened, so.
One other thing real quick. So specific to what Paula's section, what we found is this was kind of the first year, last year to a certain degree, but this was the first year we were really able to look at PAL. Okay. And PAL previously was not part of the police department, so about 2.5, 3 years ago, it came over to PD. The pandemic hit, so everything kind of shut down. So PAL still managed to kind of persevere online. But this is the first time we've actually been able to really look at the PAL programming and what the needs are. And so we've been in discussions with city staff to look at the mid-year augmentation and potentially add additional staff specifically to PAL. For instance, the Junior Giants program was incredibly successful. Over 100, I want to say close to either 100 or just over 100 kids served, but there was a waiting list that was almost the same length. And so to have the staffing to be able to really maximize these programs and then, continue to expand what we want, because it is prevention, it's a preventative method.
And right now, we're pulling staff from FIRST and YSS, the diversion. It's all the staff that we have are getting pulled to try to keep the PAL and youth development going. So that's caused a lot of
So that's
difficulty.
Like pulling here, pulling there.
Right.
It's playing the game. And Nolan hit on the conversation. Sorry, closer. Nolan hit on it pretty well about the fact is we have a council right now we're very proactive, and we want to make sure that we're all kind of firing all cylinders. And I think this is the right time. I mean, this is the time. I think, like, instead of pulling here, pulling there, what would it take to make sure that the most vulnerable, the first human trafficking, sex, domestic violence, sex trafficking, and kids in campuses, counselors, what would it take to make sure you're not pulling people off SVU? Like, hey, you need to go here and stop, chasing sex trafficking from county to county or large drug deals, because you have to go over here. I mean, stay hunting the big dogs and help kids. We need to make sure, this is the time. We really I just want to find out what would it take to fill the gaps, so you're not pulling here and pulling there, to make sure that all the departments are firing all cylinders. Because it's like whack-a-mole.
Yes.
You pull over here, and all of a sudden, now these people are being underserved. All of a sudden, now domestic violence is not getting attention. Then sex trafficking is going to get in trouble. I just couldn't sleep at night knowing that money or lack of staffing is the reason why someone's daughter got took on the way home from school. I mean, it's just, we got to make sure that happens, with the camera systems we're doing. Whatever we can do in the city to make it more safe, we got to make it happen. That's it. I think my voice is done.
Okay. We will move on down to Vice Mayor Roberts.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the presentation, what you guys do. So like growing up, we didn't have these resources, like especially in the 90s, like policing was a little bit different, social services was different. I had a family that struggled with substance abuse, alcoholism, mental health, like had a family member that's paranoid schizophrenic and like to self-medicate. So very interested in household growing up in, and this would have been a great resource for my mother, who's a single mom at the time, having to deal with this stuff. And so, yeah, I'm all for helping out how I can. One of my stances as I got in council, most of the staff knows, yeah, ask us for what you need to operate effectively, because ultimately the constituents are our customers, and you're the ones that actually provide the services. So, yeah, ask us for what you need, like, and then it's from there we can work with it by whether it's staffing or application issues, because I know we can make the positions, but it still might be difficult to staff. But ask us for what you actually need to be as effective as you can with your department and services. So that's all I have for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Councilmember Wiley.
Sorry, I didn't have this on my list a while ago. So I have enjoyed part of the youth roundtable and seeing some of the programs, but have I either missed it or you don't meet during the summer, or is that going to pick up again during the school year?
We took a pause for the summer because we were trying to run the summer at City Hall, and the Junior Giants is just too much. So we'll be starting up again.
Okay, because I think that's very valuable to have
yes.
everyone in the same room at the
Yes.
same time. So thanks for that.
Yeah, I was actually just looking at the calendar today, to see when the closures are. So you'll be getting an email.
Okay, thanks.
Yes.
All right, Councilmember Sullivan.
Really quick comments. A couple of my peers heard some thoughts. So the first, the community policing comment from Councilmember Silva, I thought was brilliant. I think that really does, you know, we have the SROs on the high school campuses, and they really do kind of integrate with the campus and the parents and the teachers, and it's great. But elementary campuses, sometimes we have a rover and it's a little different. But, you know, I know even the other morning, seeing your staff out there was great. My son's going to Peyton now, so even better. Could you maybe see if like the neighborhood commanders could maybe meet like with the site councils at the school district for the various campuses in their purview, like maybe once a quarter? Or, I mean, I know there's typically 4 or 5 schools there, but it'd be really good to have a friendly face, a person you can call, someone that you can complain about traffic or other issues to. So I think it'd be really cool to have the neighborhood commanders to have a better connection at those elementary campuses. And maybe you already do.
No, that's a great idea.
I think that'd be awesome. They'd love to see you there. The second issue that I'm going to bring up, and I'm going to bring this up later as well, but there's a huge traffic issue in the mornings at Peyton, which I'm sure you know about, and it's a nightmare. We've had kids actually die at Peyton. Is the only site in Vacaville where 2 students have actually died from a traffic-related fatality. It's a total nightmare. So hopefully we'll talk about that in the 3x3, which I'll bring up later. My last comment really quickly is I know Powell sort of lost their clubhouse, lost their home per se. Emily has an amazing plan to sort of hopefully bring back the Mariposa Center. I know we have a really great tenant, if you will, there now at 11. They don't use the site all the time. It's used pretty infrequently, to be honest. I would love to have Powell have a physical presence there. I would love, you know, as we start designing kind of this revive of the site, I would love to see Powell there practicing or using the internal space. It's a really great spot, and I think honestly that neighborhood could use as much friendly police presence as possible. And so if there's any way you guys can integrate into those conversations, I'd love to have Powell have a home on that campus. I just think it'd make a ton of sense. Those are my comments. Thanks.
Next time we're going to agendize this one item at a special called meeting. All right. Thank you very much. We
Thank you so
appreciate it.
much.
That's it from the council tonight. So, reports of the assistant city manager.
I have none.
I do want to thank you for stepping in. Fantastic job. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
We didn't make it hard enough.
No, we did. We were actually pretty easy on you tonight. We will move to 11A, League of California Cities voting delegate. I'd like to nominate the vice mayor. Can I get a second? All those in favor? Aye. Wonderful. Item 11B, the new vice mayor, I would like to nominate Councilmember Stockton. Can I get a second? I got a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous. Thank you, Vice Mayor, for all your help. New Vice Mayor, thank you. And I will entertain comments now. Councilmember Stockton.
So first off, thank you everyone for the opportunity, and great job, Jason and I know we had some good conversations, so I just wanted to say thank you to everybody. I heard some great things during that last presentation that we had from everybody. I wanted to highlight some of them. Don't be afraid to ask, and ask big. We have a proactive council. Ask us for what you need, and an emphasis on community policing. And I'm really happy to hear those comments, because when I look in this room, I see outside of Mr. Byrd, that's who's here, is our staff. And we continually ask our staff to do more and more and more and more and more and more with less. And so my comments today are based on some of the, it's in relation to some of the comments we heard at our last meeting from some of our public safety professionals. But after speaking with them, there's additional folks at the city of Vacaville, specifically our staff, that are struggling with staffing, recruitment, and retention. And I'm glad that we're proactive. I'm glad that we can ask and ask big, because frankly, like, we really only have an opportunity right now. We're only negotiating with one of our local unions with the city. And I'm scared, because I feel like if we wait 2 to 3 years, we're going to be way behind with, critical staffing levels. We just heard about the amazing things that the police department is doing, innovative things that don't have a guy or a gal with a gun and a badge, helping our community, but working with the police department to solve crimes and be available to the public to assist them with things that are occurring. There's examples of this that are happening throughout the city in every department here at Vacaville. And there's not a single department here that is not struggling to fill vacancies. So I'm asking, these folks have over the past few years, they've dealt with natural disasters, pandemics, protests, attacks on City Hall, and now we're facing a recession that is affecting these folks the most. So what I'm asking, I would like to make a motion that we agendize staffing, recruitment, and retention strategies, and figure out what kind of innovative ways that we can stop the bleeding now and provide the assistance to the folks that are still in this room and the departments that they're in, and as well as to plan for the future. I'd like to look at some creative things. We've talked about salary savings in the past. I'm wondering if we can maybe allocate a portion of salary savings to the employees that are doing the job. Like, for instance.
Hold in your motion.
Okay, so my motion is that we agendize.
Okay, I'll second your motion.
The staffing, recruitment,
staffing,
and retention strategies.
Okay, and then when we bring it back, get on that box and talk.
Cool.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, there you go. Did you need anything else, sir?
No, thank you.
Perfect. Councilmember Sullivan.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. A couple quick comments. Big thank you to Reggie and his team in Parks and Rec. We got our Sierra Vista back to school park planning meeting coming up. We're going to talk all about the new park, kind of Trower Park-ish. So thank you, sir, for that. I'm looking forward to it. I'll be there with you to take some good feedback. Want a big thank you to Rika and Georgianne. We got the Cal Walk study that I've been talking about for my district dollars finally done. Pretty awesome. It's mostly focused on pedestrian access, traffic safety, and a few other pieces. So I'm going to be bringing that back to council hopefully in the next couple months before I go, because I want to get that launched. And a big thank you to Emily for getting the Mariposa project off and running with such short notice. And I know you're bringing something back to council, I think, in September. And I know council was, you guys supported me in having those motions brought back fairly promptly. So I just want to thank you guys again. A couple last things before I go, just really trying to get some love to that Alamo Gardens neighborhood and some of those kids that don't have a whole lot of resources over there. So big thank you to all of those. Last but not least is we have a 3x3 coming up, and Silva and Stockton might know the exact date, sometime early September. I think we just got the invite. We did talk about really problematic traffic issues at certain school campuses. Markham was one of them. Big thank you to Emily and the traffic team and Brian's shop and PD probably that really got some good traffic work done there. I know we got some sidewalks, some signage, some other stuff. Hayden is terrifying as a parent, to be totally honest. And like I said, we've had 2 elementary kids die there because they were run over by a car. I just want to put it on council's radar. Hopefully we'll bring something back from the 3x3 with the school district and the city partner to do something at that Hayden drop off and pickup zone, because it is terrifying. And then we'll work through other schools as that comes along. And that's all my updates and
Thank you very much. I'm going to close it out for the reports. And it was fantastic. The city, under my money that I can allot, gave $100,000 to Play for All to help them button up the first phase. They were scared to death of the second phase. The second phase is a bigger phase. And I'm gonna blank out. I just thought of it a second ago, but, and I'm gonna have Tom come down here and give us a little, presentation. But another, unless you guys know, someone stepped forward with $450,000. And then the state of California finally released some money to them. They got $1.7 million. That's going to complete the whole second phase, way ahead of schedule, what they thought was going to happen. It's fantastic. I'm so excited for those folks, and I will have them come back. It's going to be a park that we don't have in this region. It's going to be fantastic, and especially for our special needs kids out there. So just great news, and thank you for your news too. And we will move to item 12A, closed session. We will not be reporting out. Good night, Vacaville.